I know it's early for some of you, but holy shit. I don't mean to hit you with a bombardment of energy, but that's as beautiful as anything I've ever seen or experienced in sports. I don't mean to be knee-jerk about this. I don't mean to turn this into hyperventilation of the moment. But when you're talking about just beauty of sport and spectacle with stakes, with enormous emotion, with everyone who cares about sports sort of gathering around to cheer and celebrate something together, shared.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about Mario Cristobal firing up the student section at the FSU game, right?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, what a moment.
They rallied to within one and almost beat FSU after Mario Cristobal carried UM basketball so close to the U being back.
Oh, what a moment. The Watsco was so loud. I've never seen it like that before. Also, I've never seen it.
They were down 25, 26.
It was 25 at halftime. I got an alert. It was like 41-15. I'm like, what happened?
I couldn't believe that game. And look, none of you are going to do this, but if you're like Dan and you're watching the ACC network at 5 a.m. in the morning on a Tuesday.
Today was Virginia Tech, North Carolina. North Carolina was down 17-10 with 3 minutes left.
Sound down?
Perhaps
yeah,
there
you know
might,
what? I also
Just
got
checking.
I
Yeah.
also got confused by the scroll because it was saying it happened to me again. I'm sitting there watching, and across the scroll, it's David Ross out for COVID. And I'm like, baseball's not going on. Why are they giving us COVID results?
Rossi.
Is someone playing ACC games on DVR? Like, because the ticker when they run replays is updated.
I don't know what to tell you. I'm just telling you that every morning I am eating up. I am learning so much about ACC football between 5 and 6 a.m.
If, for whatever reason, they replay this game this week or it's on the ESPN Plus app, I just want you to watch the chunk of the game where Leonard Hamilton puts in FSU's victory cigar, number 30, with upper arm hair, Harrison Prieto. Because this is how Miami got within a shot of winning that game. It was electric. It was like they put Philip Seymour Hoffman out on the court. And normally I don't like to do this to college kids, but I'm pretty sure this dude is 43 years old. You have
It's Brian Cardinal in like a mask.
have to watch this. I have coined the phrase. This is something that I do with my friends. I have coined the phrase Vrabel Cam. I did this like 20 years ago when Mike Vrabel was totally washed as a Kansas City Chiefs player, and I was just fixated on how bad he was.
It's a weird thing to do.
It's called the Vrabel Cam. I was at the arena.
Braves.
I was at the Watsco, and this dude comes in, and he makes his presence felt. He is barking out all sorts of orders. He is like captaining this ship, and no one is listening to him. He said, I swear to God, like a dozen screens. Not a single one of them actually made contact. He was just calling for people, pick, and he would just pick the air, and he would move on. I am not exaggerating. You have to see this, and that's how Miami made its comeback.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate the breakdown. I wanted to go more with the emotional elements of it, but thank you for grabbing the victory cigar by Leonard Hamilton.
He is in his 6th season.
Redshirt senior.
I also just pulled up his Twitter account. The first word in his bio is meteorologist.
So that's what was responsible for
Like
the
active.
He's a storm.
Yeah, like he's an active meteorologist for a Tallahassee affiliate somewhere. You have to see this. Dude was electric.
Just violently setting picks that weren't touching anybody.
They were violent, but they didn't touch a single person.
Okay.
I'm not like I will stand firm. He didn't make contact.
I make fun of Hank Azaria. Mystery Men had so much potential as a movie. I loved it. I loved it, but it was not critically well received, and they were just superheroes who had no real powers. As Ben Stiller, and Ben Stiller was Mr. Furious. All he would do was get angry. And so you're talking about this guy. He should be the meteorologist. We should sign an NIL deal with this guy.
I would love to.
No, because we got to nickname him the Storm, and just have him go from one side of the court setting picks that never connect.
I thought it was performance art because when Leonard realizes, oh crap, I got to pull this guy out of the game, he goes back to the benches charged up as he entered the court. He's just like really frustrated, gets the towel, puts it around his neck, really upset that no one was really listening to his orders out there because he's a star. He's the 6th-year senior.
You said hairy arms?
He does. Yeah, he had, but it was weird. Like, in person, it only seemed like his left arm had upper arm hair. I was really into this guy, as you can tell. I was calling for.
You're really objectifying him.
Take the lane. I was just like
He
drawing
played
plays
2
up for him.
minutes. It must have been an electric 2 minutes.
It was.
It was the sports event of the weekend, is what I'm telling you. I understand that you guys think that
Someone cut up these 2 minutes, make a full highlight film. I'm telling you, this guy's gonna go viral with this effort. It was amazing.
We've got to turn him into. I want to work with Leonard Hamilton and all the collegiate communities to turn the Storm into something that dominates college basketball.
Were those his first minutes? I'm sure he checked in against Canisius or something like that. But
His career high is 5 points
Wow.
earlier this year.
Get me that film. I want to buy it via NIL or NFT if I can.
You're just saying he ran around for 2 minutes, set screens that weren't there. He had one foul. That's all he did. He had one foul, and that's
it.
it.
It was a good foul.
It was a good foul.
Yeah, it was
Very
good.
nearly a
Hard
club
foul.
trillion on the box score.
Guillermo, put it on the poll at LeBatard Show. Have you ever met anyone who has hair only on the upper part of their left arm? You were really inspecting this, Mike, in a way that's a bit disturbing.
What was his plus minus? What was his plus minus? It might have been minus 16 points in those 2 minutes.
In 2 minutes, huh?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it was a really fun game. Miami had no business. Even I don't know how they've lost to FSU by a combined 2 points when FSU is about twice the size. Like on average.
They have been for 10 years.
Yeah.
For 10 years, FSU, that Leonard's got all these unbelievably athletic 6'10", 6'11" dudes.
You have like a 7-footer as like third string coming off the bench. It's just size and waves. And anytime like one of them would go up to the cup, the stormy meteorologist and his friends at the end of the bench would just do like go carrying the baby because they would play bully ball. I was there, and I still have no idea how they did it. And at halftime, so it was Elite Prospect Weekend at the University of Miami for their football program. They're bringing in 4- and 5-star recruits. This is a big weekend for recruiting. And the plan was for Mario to take all these recruits to the Watsco Center at halftime for the second half. And everyone was assuming, well, Mario's just going to pivot. This is horribly sad. Why would he bring these prospects? Just watch this drubbing with the crowd not into it at the hands of FSU, no less.
But then he gets involved.
But he stayed married to the plan, and it was incredible. You put on a good show for the prospects. You put on a really good show for the
a
people
polo. He
watching.
put on a great polo,
Yeah.
too.
He brought a big energy into an arena. You lose by 25 with your recruits in town. That place feels cruddy. It feels like one of the most haunting things from the weekend to me was watching the Niners in the cold celebrate among those silent, heartbroken people who looked around and like, oh, wait a minute, is that it? So 30 years of Favre and Rodgers, 30 years. It ends with 4 minutes on a block on a. Wait, what? It's all over. The silence was haunting. So good.
It was so great. It was so great.
Put it on the
Everyone
poll,
was dunking
Guillermo,
on him.
at LeBatard Show.
Unbelievable.
Was Aaron Rodgers' game on Saturday a victory for the vaccinated?
And for the Bears.
At LeBatard Show, because somehow that's the third storyline from the weekend. The football kept escalating. Stugotz, put this on the poll as well, Guillermo, at LeBatard Show. Will the show have time to talk about Titans Bengals today?
I don't even remember Titans
Because
Bengals.
it happened before the pandemic. It happened 3 years ago.
I have the Miami FSU box score from Saturday, and it doesn't acknowledge the existence of Harrison Prieto.
No,
They list 10 guys who
that's
played.
not true. If he
And it's
played-
just not. He's not there.
Wait a minute. The storm is
It's
invisible.
impossible.
The storm's
invisible.
He's
No,
box
if you get
score invisible.
if you get 2 minutes and you register a foul, you're in the box score.
He's not in the box score. I'm looking at the official box score. It says the NCAA
This
logo
can't
is on the
be
top
right.
left
No.
corner of the
Yeah,
screen.
No.
Whittingham,
This
are you
is a
reading the
cover-up
box
that's
score?
going to
What
the
do you
very
mean?
top.
We've got to elevate him to a star. They will not deny us the ability to make this a bigger story. It's not going to get dwarfed by football. This guy needs to be a national sensation.
I love that on the heels of possibly the greatest NFL game ever, the greatest playoff weekend maybe ever, 2 all-time quarterbacks maybe looking at the end of their careers, the Miami Heat drubbing and then almost losing to, excuse me,
Choked up.
LeBron James.
5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
$5 rather.
We're talking
That's a
about
fine too.
we're talking about a 6-year senior over at Florida. I tried to power that one through, but I'm just not going to do it anymore.
Right.
This is who I am. Love me for me.
Mm-hmm.
The joke
You do the same.
was talking about Mario Cristobal just to start off the week by annoying the audience. But that football weekend was amazing.
Holy shit.
It
I'm hungover. I mean,
and we'll get to it. We will get to it in a second because it was dizzying. You've seen some of the stats. Patrick Mahomes threw for 177 yards after the 2-minute warning.
yeah. I mean, Dan, you said it perfectly. Each game escalated where you're like, how can that game outdo the last game?
How can it keep escalating? Right. How can you go from Burrow needs to overcome 9 sacks
Mm-hmm.
to beat the Titans on a weekend when 3 dogs do the winning, right? 3 underdogs do the winning, and the only favorite that won had to win with a miracle, 13 seconds to save your season. The best thing in sports, desperate greatness at the end. It's the best thing in sports when you know someone's great and they are now clawing with desperation, and you have to be really short-sighted instead of celebrating the artistry of what you saw. Football as well played as it can be, to bury anybody with questions about squib kicks as if we should have seen 13 seconds going from 25-yard line to 30 was possible.
We shouldn't have seen it, but the coaching staff should.
Okay, you
No,
can
they
do
should,
that's
Dan.
fine. All right, I don't want to. We can.
It's not our job. It's their job.
We'll let you change the overtime rules because you wanted more.
I don't want to
football.
change the overtime rules.
We'll let you make the points that you want to make on this stuff. I promise. Okay. If you
Yeah.
want to question the squib kick because you saw that they left Patrick Mahomes too much time with 13 seconds. If you want to be that guy,
Promise me we'll get to it.
we will get to the
Thank
squib
you.
kick
Okay.
for sure.
Thank you.
And we'll probably get to people wanting new overtime rules. Like, do you realize how great a game has to be for you to basically say after it's done, I wanted more of that, please change the rules? Unfair to Josh Allen. He had a perfect postseason. He had to play a perfect game, no punts, no fumbles the last time they played. 9 touchdowns, no interceptions, throws for like 700 yards in 2 games, rushes for $150. You wanted to see him on the field again. Change the rules is what people are talking about.
Mm-hmm. Or a squib kick.
I don't blame them, though, because you just wanted more football.
Yeah. Dan, that game was so good last night. I cannot recall the last time I was standing up watching a game, walking into my daughter's bedroom to make sure she was watching the game, and she was. Making sure Emma, my other daughter, was watching the game. She wasn't. I turned the television on for her so she could watch the game. I said to her, you're missing the greatest NFL football game I've ever seen since the 1 o'clock game. How about that?
It is. Football always wins, man, because for whatever immoralities we can find, and I can find all over that sport, because you heard me tired of it 3 or 4 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. It was Brock Osweiler.
Yeah.
I was tired of it. It wasn't that. It wasn't beautiful. It wasn't bigger, stronger, faster. They're on a field that's now too small for them. The precision that's required, the science, some of the throws, Stugotz, to Odell Beckham, the timing, what you're watching at the end of those games, Stugotz, as we sit here and crush Dak Prescott because it took them 14 seconds on a quarterback draw, and Kansas City went and did what they did to save their season, and nobody even talks about, Stugotz, what the holder did for Kansas City because too much was happening in that game.
Right.
Stugotz, I tuned into that game at 23-21. What did I miss? Nothing.
No.
I tuned in at 23-21. I didn't see the beginning part of that game.
You could have tuned in at the 2-minute warning and you would have missed nothing. I mean, seriously, that's where all the action started.
Patrick Mahomes threw for 177 yards after the 2-minute warning. I believe Tua averages 204 yards a game.
That dart to Tyreek Hill, my goodness.
Everything.
Holy.
It's not just that. It's on a field of people that you know are cheetahs. How is Tyreek Hill so much faster than everybody else?
He threw up the peace signs to someone that was ahead of him and had an angle.
Yeah.
How
at
is
the 20-yard line?
You tell me, because I don't remember Randy Moss. I remember Randy Moss catching touchdowns all the time. I don't remember consistently marveling, how is this person this much faster than everyone else I'm watching? And he's made of billiard balls. He has 3 bills like tackle each other, and you want a squib kick, and I'm terrified of kicking anything that allows them to return it. Like, because they've got so many athletes and everyone is so precise. I would have done exactly the same thing. Kicked it through the end zone and said, okay, Mahomes, if you can beat me in 13 seconds with no timeouts.
And he would have, yeah.
We've seen copycat leagues. This was the first game. What you texted me a stat. It's the first time that Patrick Mahomes didn't take a deep shot in a game because of the 2 high safeties. And if the NFL has evolved in how they cover them.
Yeah, the NFL Next Gen Stats showed that the Bills ran 2 deep safety on 92% of their defensive snaps, and Patrick Mahomes, for the first time in his career, did not take a deep shot. He didn't throw, I think they classify that beyond 20 yards in the air. So, so every pass that he threw was within 20 yards of the line of scrimmage. He's never done that in a game and still managed to surgically pick them apart.
So we talked about like what the Chiefs had to do, which was take what the defense gave them when they were struggling early in the season. Patrick Mahomes learned how to do that, reprogrammed himself slightly, and is, again, the best quarterback in the NFL. But I think the copycat league portion that we're going to see is we're seeing 2 single high safeties all the time, right? But you got to have guys, and this is going to be a lot easier said than actually doing, but Deebo Samuel and Tyreek Hill, just these brilliant talents that are yak guys that can totally break down a defense, that are just special
That's
talents.
the next evolution that's coming if you if you can find that. But the thing,
weapons like Kyle Pitts, just offensive weapons, like whatever I can get, whenever I can get you the ball in your hands, this is the only way I can beat 2 high safeties now.
Little dink and dunk by Mahomes, we're saying.
Yeah,
a little bit off there. Yeah, I mean, Mahomes, I remember, would have won that game by 30 in regulation.
Mm-hmm. Throwing bombs.
Lost a step. You guys, a big weekend for you guys because you also said Aaron Rodgers, you're proven right on him tanking.
Some people watch the game, some people watch box scores. You know what I mean?
Tried to tell you, Dan, a long play here. Yep. He infiltrated the special teams, and they bought in.
Try and tell me that throwing into double coverage when the game's on the line instead of someone wide open in the middle of the field is not suspicious.
A little something.
Some people are made for the regular season.
That one, and I don't want to sound like I'm defending.
Then don't.
Because 10 points at home and his playoff record is abysmal. It's 11-10 for the greatest quarterback I've ever seen.
If Jimmy Garoppolo wins one more game, he will go to 2 Super Bowls. Aaron Rodgers has been to 1.
And you say that, and what's funny about that in particular is you look at Garoppolo's last 5 playoff games, Stugotz. I think I have these numbers written down somewhere. I think it's 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions total. In the 5 games, 4-1. Garoppolo. Like, just dreadful game. They are hiding their quarterback.
Yep.
And Stugotz wants to give him credit for being better than Aaron Rodgers because they're doing a great job of simply hiding the quarterback. Because you look at his last 5 games, they're all terrible.
Yeah,
terrible.
but he wins, right?
Well, except when they had a 6-minute lead.
They lost that
in
one,
the Super Bowl against Mahomes.
Right.
You shouldn't listen to anything me and Stugotz are saying because that game yesterday, maybe the game of your life, Stugotz didn't want Mahomes starting, and I said the other quarterback was terrible. I described Josh Allen as terrible on television.
I wanted Andy Reid to keep Alex Smith.
I'm going to tell you again, Josh Allen's stats. This is from Bruce Feldman. This is 2 games, Stugotz. 77% completion rate. 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. 637 passing yards. 134 rushing yards, 9 for 9 in the red zone. That loses.
500 in the playoffs.
Crazy.
You want to make it about wins and losses, Stugotz.
So stupid. Like, any analysis of Josh Allen cannot include anything about his record or not getting to AFC championships or not getting to Super Bowls. Like,
Some of those throws were insane, though.
Right.
Just totally insane.
But
to
me, the annoying thing.
I know who he is. I think he was on one of those UCF teams, right? But Gabriel Davis, so that, Mike, that's what it is. To take away Diggs, you got to give Gabriel Davis the ability to get that game. To take away Diggs defensively.
To sell out on taking away Diggs, yeah, that guy's going to be open a lot.
You got to give Gabriel Davis the 4 touchdown because you're single covering him. Some of the great things yesterday, Stugotz, just such great things. I want to celebrate football today instead of blaming or questioning because of this reason. Because yesterday what kept happening to me was this. Oh, you can't let him get open deep. Who is it? Oh, it's Cooper Kupp, of course. Cooper Kupp, he's best at what he does.
Yep.
Maybe he does get open deep. Oh, man, Mike Evans, how do you let him get behind the defense?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was being covered by Jalen Ramsey. That's the best of what he does. That's going to happen. Tom Brady to Mike Evans. That's how it happens. They trusted Jalen Ramsey. You're supposed to. Von Miller spent that game doing what they got him for. All those guys did. They're playing to beat Tom Brady, and they beat him at his best, going for it late in the game when all of us had lost trust in Stafford and all of us had spent the game. You better watch Brady here because 27-3, he might still come back at 44 years old. This witch isn't dead. You got to keep killing this thing.
It was a pretty ridiculous time for Todd Bowles to dial up a blitz. Is it not? Stafford is great against the blitz. You're trying to get that game to overtime, and that's what you dial up as a defensive coordinator in that spot?
All I'm telling you is I'm not going to do that today. That's fine. You could do it all day today. I'm not doing that today.
To get back to Josh Allen, to me, it's not just about how good he is at throwing the ball. It's that on 3rd and 1, you know that they can just run power right and get 3 yards. He is the ultimate weapon to get a first down anywhere on the field. And it's demonstrated on the opening drive of the game when they go for it on 4th and short twice on the road. They could have given the ball to the Chiefs at midfield. It's we know that if we run Josh Allen, we have a first down.
What I love so much about this football weekend is there's a cliche in football, don't call plays, call players. And we saw teams live and die by that. Anytime it's a crucial moment for San Francisco, you got to find 19. But the Tennessee Titans tried doing that with a Derrick Henry that was coming off of injury, and they died by it.
I was watching the end of that game as it takes San Francisco can't score a touchdown. They got to block a punt. And before the game, the announcers told you. The announcers before that game started said special teams here are a disaster here on both sides.
LaFleur said, I hope the special teams doesn't blow the game for us.
But when Mike mentions Deebo Samuel, what it took to get past Green Bay there on a day when nobody was going to be scoring touchdowns. They, at the end of that game, the last 2 minutes, Mike, Kittle limped off the field, dragging his leg. Samuel hopped off the field on one leg, and the Silverback documentary. Trent Williams, most overwhelming offensive force in the league, calls himself the Silverback, has a documentary because he's just bigger and stronger than everyone else. He limps off the field. Last 2 minutes, what it takes to get to the next step of this, to win in Green Bay on Aaron Rodgers' last day, to stun Lambeau like that. It took every limping thing that they had. All 3 of their best players couldn't get off the field. They had to stagger to the end, and it's because they kept trying to throw the ball to Samuel and hand the ball to Samuel and figure out how to get 7 yards here on a game when no one's going to be getting 7 yards.
And on the other side of the coin, Aaron Rodgers only trusted Devontae Adams, and he dialed up a play for Devontae Adams in which he was double covered, and he had Lazard wide the frick open. Wide open. I mean, Odell Beckham Jr.'s dad needs to break down this film to embarrass Aaron Rodgers publicly.
What were the best jokes that you heard at
Rush Lambeau for me?
Breitbart star.
Rush Lambeau. That was interesting, and I don't think that any of us could have predicted, Stugotz, that among the many casualties of the pandemic would be America rooting against that guy, Green Bay's quarterback. And I know it's not everyone in America. I know we're split on this stuff. But that felt like a victory for science, weirdly.
Yes.
because of what Aaron Rodgers has been doing to, damage his image, no matter where it is that you want to side on this stuff, because I know there are plenty of people here who do think of him as a freedom fighter, but a whole lot of people were celebrating the losing of a guy that I did not have America celebrating his losing in his career, and in a weekend where you're like, oh, look, if Tom Brady retires like that, woo, he went out a gunslinger. Like, he went out. Yeah. He fixed everything. If he decides he wants to quit now, like, that's the way to lose. If you like Tom Brady at the end, you're like, oh, he's still stealing my begrudging respect. I want to hate him. I can't. He wins. Like, even when he's
not retiring.
Even when he loses, he wins.
Why do you have him retiring? Just out of curiosity, right? Just because Darlington floated that out there.
I'm just saying, if he decides it, it'd be
leverage.
A hell of a way to go out.
Might be Green Bay.
It's a good shout.
That'd be great. No, we were thinking about that. Maybe Aaron Rodgers goes to San Francisco and perhaps Tom Brady goes to the Packers. Because you say to yourself, what's left for Tom Brady? What's left? He's won 7 Super Bowls. He's been to 10. What else does he have to do? But perhaps there's a part of him that just wants to bounce around team to team and play, be the Packers quarterback one year, be the Niners quarterback another year. Why not? You're Tom Brady. Any team would get rid of their quarterback to have Tom Brady. Any team with the exception of the Chiefs and perhaps the Bills.
By the time, though, that Tom Brady gets to the Chiefs, a little retirement tour, play for all the teams. By the time he gets to the Chiefs, Mahomes going to be done.
See?
Don't rule it out, Dan.
Okay, I'll go ahead and rule it out.
Why?
You
think Tom's done? I mean, come on.
You've got him going to Green Bay.
Possibly.
Perhaps.
Yeah, living in the cold.
If they don't want Jimmy Garoppolo.
Maybe San Francisco. I mean.
Okay. That's what you're going to take from yesterday's set of games. You're going to already turn the transaction wheel on Tom Brady playing all over the league.
And Aaron Rodgers.
We know he's not going to the AFC, right? The quarterbacks, last night, one of the small takeaways watching that final 2 minutes was, like, in a lot of offenses around the league, we're probably saying this because I'm a Dolphins fan, I'm playing JV football. Like, the fact that...
Oh, no, but wait a minute, though. No, but hold on a minute. You want to talk about JV football. You want to see the escalation on this, JV football. Last week's playoff games were JV football compared to this week's playoff games because we know how good all those teams were. We know we were watching 8 good football teams. All the injuries, all the nonsense, those are 8 good football teams. Not a lot of difference. And then, Chris, there was a JV between Saturday and Sunday. Saturday they were playing JV football compared to what they were playing offensively on Sunday. What you just saw this weekend was beautiful. It was escalation after escalation when you're like, how do you escalate the Aaron Rodgers storyline? And then how do you escalate Tom Brady's going to do this again at 44 with it? Really? You're going to fumble the ball? You're going to start gagging it up right and left? Oh, never mind. Rams win at the end. Going for it when no one in the world trusted them to throw the football. Though you're just watching, you're like, here comes the pick 6, right? Stafford, the play before they started, like, fell to his knees. They're going to fumble again, right? They're going to just cough up this entire game.
McVay didn't even seem to trust the offense when the first play he calls is a quarterback draw with Matthew Stafford. He's like, all right, he's packing it in and playing for overtime, and this is just going to escalate. They're in the quicksand, and they're not going to emerge from it.
It was odd to see that, right? McVay was so conservative. He was playing not to lose rather than trying to win the game. You have that quarterback, you have that offense.
Like you said, that's one play. It's one play, and then on 2nd and 11, they did change. You're saying you want to today question every coach.
I do, every coach. There's so many things to be questioned.
Okay, you know what? Let's get it out of the way then. Please just go, okay? Just please question all the things so we can purge it and get it from your system. All of the things, all of the coaches who need to be fired, everyone who needs to be blamed, so I could get back to not wanting to blame anyone except maybe for Tannehill. I just need to see how many of those 3 interceptions were actually his fault as opposed to wide receivers. Because one of the things about yesterday that's literally breathtaking is that these people can be this precise late in games with how exhausted they are. That these offenses can be that surgical when everyone on the field is beyond the pale in terms of physical exhaustion.
You just want me to unleash on all of them? I mean, because I'll start with Todd Bowles. Ridiculous to dial up that blitz in that spot against a quarterback who was great against the blitz. That was ridiculous. Sean McVay, he coached scared. innovative, young, offensive genius with a quarterback. He wanted that quarterback. He got that quarterback, and that quarterback wanted to win the game. He wanted to blow out Tom Brady, and McVay said, hey, you know what? I'm going to hand the ball off to Cam Akers, and he's going to fumble. And then I'm going to hand the ball off to him again, and he's going to fumble again. And I'm going to try to run out the clock. And he let Tom Brady and the Buccaneers back into that game. Sean McVay should be ashamed of himself.
Can I ask you something? When you say coach scared, blitzing, is coach scared?
Coaching offense.
Okay,
scared.
So scared on offense,
Yes.
but brave on defense.
But he's in charge of the offense, is he not?
No, I got it. Okay. No, I just wanted to make sure I had that right. So he was coaching scared only when he had Stafford. That makes sense, actually.
Yeah, his side of the ball, Dan, right. Yeah, you're keeping up with me. That's good. So Sean McVay, scared. I got to Bowles. Bruce Arians, what a terrible job, Dan. What a terrible job. You give the ball to Leonard Fournette, I guarantee you, Belichick would have made sure that Fournette did not score in that spot. Take a knee at the one. Do not leave Matthew Stafford that much time. You cost him the game. Bruce Arians should be fired.
Left too much time for the guy who was coaching scared, right?
Yes.
Left too much time.
Yes. Left way too much time for that quarterback, right? Because you knew he was not going to coach scared in that spot. He had to go win a game.
And Stafford overcame the coaching there.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Sean McDermott. Are you kidding me?
Squib kick.
I'm not supposed to know that. And I'm not sitting here telling you that I was sitting on my couch saying you need to squib kick. I was not, okay? I was enjoying that game. It is not I was getting caught up in the moment. Sean McDermott's job is to not get caught up in the moment and to make sure, Dan, that he makes the right play every play so his team can advance on to the AFC Championship game. If you squib kick that is at least 4 to 5 seconds off the clock. You win the game. Josh Allen advances to the AFC Championship game. That is a terrible job of coaching.
May I?
Like, why won't you criticize these guys?
If I may, though, let me ask.
Coach like you've been there before.
What would you be saying if they squib kicked and KC returned it for a touchdown?
I would have crushed him.
I just don't. We can do that today. Is that what they're doing? I want to ask you this because I'm genuinely curious about this because Stugotz, I misidentified something last week in that I asked the question, and it, in retrospect, is a dumb question that I asked, but I didn't realize I was asking a stupid question. When I asked, hey, when ESPN and First Take do these 50 straight minutes after the Dallas end of the game 14-second thing, is that the coverage that drives the interest, or is it the interest that drives the coverage? And then not only did I see the numbers on 50 million people for San Francisco, Dallas, but every one of those shows, Undisputed, The Herd, First Take, whatever, all of them had record weeks last week because Dallas lost, and we were hyper-examining the last couple of seconds of a game. And I'm asking you genuinely when I say, is it what you want after that weekend to blame Coach X when I'd prefer to change the rules on overtime because I think I would have liked to have seen Josh Allen play. I would like to have seen the coin flip not be the thing that decided the game so we could celebrate. Holy shit, that's how precise the throw to Kelsey is at the end when everyone on that field is broken. Everyone is tired. Wow, really? So I not only have to cover Tyreek Hill, who's faster than everyone here, but I have to cover that 6'7" Frankenstein who led the league in receiving yards last year as a tight end, and they're going to throw to that 6'7" body in the corner of the end zone, the left shoulder, and it's going to be so precise at the end of the game that I'm going to lose. Do you want to celebrate what you're watching, or do you want to blame and find fault with what you saw this week?
Well, no. When people say Josh Allen didn't get a chance, he did get a chance, and he scored the game-winning touchdown, what should have been the game-winning touchdown. Twice, Dan. I don't want to change overtime. I love the walk-off element of overtime. Plus, I don't know how you change it. Like, what are you going to do?
I'm asking you.
You're going to ask these guys who are wrecking their bodies to play another full quarter of football?
I'm asking you,
then we'll figure it out.
I'm asking you more thematically on, is there ever a circumstance in which the next day's results can just be enjoyed? Is there such a thing hypothetically that I can put in front of anybody where you could just marvel at what it is that you just witnessed, the ballet and the artistry and the acrobatics? I'm legitimately asking the question, or must there be blame every time?
I mean, I enjoyed it, but I also enjoy blaming people. I mean, that's what we do. Like,
That's
you feel
football,
bad,
Dan. Yeah,
It
More
you're
is.
bringing
interesting, yeah.
science and ballet and math.
No,
It
because
is
everyone
football. You
feels
blame
bad for
people,
Josh Allen today, Dan. And no one would feel bad for Josh Allen if they simply squib kicked it. That's it. Just kick it in bounds somewhere and make the guy do something. Burn 5 seconds.
right.
Game's over.
And you ask what happens if they score there. Make a tackle.
Okay.
True.
Stop them. You have the number 1 defense in the NFL.
Allegedly.
If I may, then, just out of curiosity, because before yesterday, I did not know that it could be done. If you had said to me, hey, 13 seconds, you got to get from the 25, no timeouts. I'm sorry, you got to get from the 25, you got your timeouts, but you got to get from the 25 to the opposing 30 in 13 seconds. If you'd asked me, and Mike told me before the show today that if you had betted in game, Stugotz, when Kansas City got the ball, 16-1 odds you would have gotten on Kansas City winning, which seems super low to me. Like, because I would have guessed before yesterday that it couldn't be done. You weren't going to get in legitimate field goal range. That 13 seconds is enough to end every football game. I don't know how much time was left at the end of the lateral game with Gronkowski. That's how you have to win one of those games when you've got 13 seconds left. In my lifetime, 13 seconds has always been enough, Stugotz. Nobody's getting to the opposing 30-yard line.
Well, with 3 timeouts, though, that's the thing. Like, I'm fine with what McDermott did if they didn't have their timeouts. But that quarterback, Dan, he just scored in 5 seconds to Tariq Hill.
But you have 2 plays, Stugotz. You have 2 plays to do it.
And they did it.
They did do it, but I wouldn't have thought that they could.
But if they squib kick it, you only have 1 play. That's the point. Those 5 to 6 seconds it took for Kelsey to get the ball down to the 30, for Butker to kick the field goal, that play doesn't happen if you squib kick it. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not supposed to know it. You're not supposed to know it. But it's his job to know that.
Okay, but you know when you say that they had time to spare in the 13 seconds? So they could have done it even with a squib kick. If they'd kicked it to the 40 and then started there, they could have done it. They'd lost the 40.
No.
There was time left when there were 4 seconds left.
You don't understand the squib kick, okay? You really don't get it,
okay,
right?
I don't get it then.
No, you don't get the squib kick, Dan.
Yeah.
There's 13 seconds left. They kick it off, okay? They get the ball to 30, 35, whatever it is. They have their 3 timeouts, but they only have 8 seconds left.
But it matters where
they only have time for 1 play there, Dan. That's it.
You're taking the gamble, though, that your kicker can do a perfectly executed squib kick over the fact that your defense can stop Patrick Mahomes from the 20 with 13 seconds. Like, I think that's the trade-off. And no one thought he would get down the field in 13 seconds. Like,
I don't know.
I
if
see
no
the answer
one
for
thought
both,
it, though,
though.
because everyone's saying, in retrospect, again, we can hyper-examine. Look, man, I just told you about the record ratings. That sport, and it's why it always wins. We can hyper-examine every whistle. Every second, we can hyper-examine it because the stakes are so high on how people care about this stuff. So you really can do that, Stugotz, on any play. Cincinnati doesn't win if Chase doesn't recover a fumble that they had, right? Cincinnati fumbled the ball and Chase recovered it, and we don't talk about that fumble. We probably won't be talking very much, right, Stugotz? I don't think that you mentioned Cam Akers. We will forget about that fumble now, right?
Well, both fumbles, yeah.
But I'm saying we'll forget about the second one, even though it was like the giant meaty sausage arms of Ndamukong Suh that knocked it out. This is what I'm talking about. But this is what I'm talking about, Stugotz.
Incredible.
You were watching the top of the sport when you're like, how could Akers fumble there? Oh, it's because someone I've never seen just clubbed him with a canned ham.
And Ndamukong Suh was crazed yesterday. From the minute he told Matthew Stafford, I'm going to F you up, like from the beginning of the game, Ndamukong Suh was a madman yesterday.
But this is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is every time I looked up, I'm like, Mike Evans, how do you let him? Every time I wanted to criticize, it's Jalen Ramsey. How does Akers? Well, I mean, okay, you can't fumble in that spot. Agreed. But that was a nightmare of a game for Akers. What an awful game. 24 carries, 48 yards. That was the first opening he had all game until the canned ham arm or fist of Ndamukong Suh knocked the ball out.
Brady made that happen, right? Like, he willed that field goal to be short. I'm convinced he just stared at the field goal and it was short.
How was it short? What happened?
Gay got hurt. Gay was hurt in the pregame warmups.
I didn't know that. And that is why he got it to 45 yards instead of 47 yards. And that field goal ends the game. Ends Tom Brady unceremoniously, right? Because then if they make it a 3-score game, all
it's
that
over.
scoring at the end doesn't doesn't end up mattering. You could make a decent argument, even though Scotty Miller had a good game. You can make a decent argument, Stugotz, that Tampa Bay lost that game as soon as Antonio Brown took that jersey off in whatever it is they're
or
calling
when Godwin got hurt.
Jet Stadium.
That was an underratedly shocking moment of Sunday, right? The short field goal at 47 yards. I thought it went in. I was like, that's it.
But knowing what Mike said, yes, I didn't know that he was hurt there because, again, I was listening with the sound down.
I thought the shocking moment was Antonio Brown wishing Tom Brady good luck on Instagram before the game started.
But then he went, he went back on it and posted a meme of himself that saying Bucks eliminated. But he blocked me on Twitter 3 years ago, so I couldn't see it.
I want to know who the old curmudgeon defensive mind that was sitting there watching that final 2 minutes last night was like, shit, make a stop. Like the whole world was celebrating this. I'm picturing like Mike Singletary on his couch. Like, this is horse shit.
Dick LeBeau was rolling his eyes. Yeah.
I could stop Mahomes. You just do this. And like, I don't know why I turned him into like a carnival barker.
I don't. And he's talking out of the side of his mouth for some.
Play a couple three.
Old-time people, they just talk like this.
Are you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know I keep turning this into a celebration of sport, but are you not marveling at the combination that I'm talking about of precision, that those guys wouldn't have flubbed routes with all of the seconds matter. Everyone's running around the field, and these last few seconds matter, that no one cuts a route the wrong way, that everyone's exhausted out there, right? Totally exhausted. They're running sprints all game. Like, they're exhausted. And at the end of the game, both of them clawing at each other, that both offenses, we're going to go this way and that way. Oh, the game's over. Tyreek Hill said afterward, I gave him the peace sign. I thought it was over when I was in the end zone. He's like, as if the peace sign is conclusive. It should replace things on the scoreboard. What part do you guys not understand that I thought the game was over? I gave him the peace sign.
It should have been taunting. We'll get into that in a couple of minutes, though. He taunted. Rules are the rules. Yeah, 15 yards. We'll discuss it later on, Dan. Keep it moving. Hey, it's a bad time to taunt. I mean, I'm just saying, hey, you've been taunting all season. I mean, you got to pick your spots with taunting. Little consistency with Tyreek Hill. I mean, sometimes he does it, sometimes he doesn't, but he does it in the regular season. He shouldn't do it in the postseason. The postseason is what really matters. He could have cost his team a W there. That's a terrible job by Tyreek Hill. Terrible job. And bad coaching by Andy Reid. You got to be more disciplined. And speaking of discipline, how about Bruce Arians and the Bucs? I mean, seriously, you have 15 yards on Brady, right? Because he's screaming at the ref because, God forbid, he bleeds, okay? You got 15. You got Sue, 15 yards. You got Bucs making mistakes all over the field. Ridiculous penalties, Dan. I mean, tighten it up. Bruce Arians, he might be out, Dan, because I'm telling you what's going on here is Tom Brady is doing a little something I like to call a leverage play. He does not want Byron Leftwich to leave to go to Jacksonville. He wants him to stay put in Tampa Bay. He wants Leftwich to be the head coach of the Tampa Bay Bucs. How about that? Huh?
Did you seal that take from Jay Williams on your way in?
Yes. Jay Will.
I love you just floundering into the quicksand with like some of your lame, echoing, laziest hits. Jay Will, as you like sink through the straw, you're like just hitting all the notes.
And speaking of tightening things up, how about Tannehill with 3 interceptions? Are you kidding me? Ryan Tannehill, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, and I'm being serious here, the Tennessee Titans are in the mix, Dan.
This is the one you're serious about, not the Tom Brady retirement
Would you not
tour?
Consider the Tennessee Titans if you're Aaron Rodgers? Think about it. I mean, they're a quarterback away.
You want to go to
the Niners.
You want to go to the AFC if you're Rodgers.
He doesn't care. He's Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't care? He's Aaron Rodgers.
Well, but I think that last game is the announcement. Hey, old quarterbacks like Roethlisberger, all you guys except Brady, get out of here. We're all coming for you. That was a quarterback fight death match was what that was, what we were watching there. It's why you're calling it like one of the greatest games you've ever seen.
So good.
Because it's just those two guys playing perfect football at the end of that game. And every time you're like, it's 4th down, this game has to end. Oh, no, of course. Of course, Josh Allen throws a frozen rope, literally frozen because of the temperature there. And of course, there's a guy wide open in the end zone for 201 yards.
I hope I don't get too much pushback for this, but the Chiefs uniform is too ugly for them to be a historic dynasty, I think.
Wow. Really?
Right? Yeah. I don't like the uniform to look back and be like, oh, wow, this is one of the great teams ever. This is a dynasty. I have to go back. The red is just a little too red for me. I don't know what it is about the uniform.
I think you're right about this.
Really?
I can't believe I'm agreeing with you on this, but I like the red otherwise, but it doesn't give off the kind of historic dominance that's eternal the way. Is it because all the other football uniforms we've seen that we associated with that, with 49ers or everything else, it's never that color red in it?
Different red, yeah. I don't know. I was watching it and I was seeing the Bills, and I'm like, I could go back and see the Bills 20 years from now and being like, wow, that was like a great team.
But it makes them look faster, the red. It does.
Yeah,
it does.
I don't think it's the red. I think it's the yellow.
It's
the
a
red
combo
and
of
yellow
the two for
combo.
sure.
I think
Yeah.
it's the fast. You guys think they look faster or they are faster?
I don't know. I'm convinced Tariq Hill would not be that fast in a Jets uniform. I'm convinced. I mean,
Same thing, by the way, with the Rams. They're not going to win the Super Bowl this year because that blue is just too blue. Imagine a Chiefs-Rams Super Bowl with those uniforms.
You are so right about this. Is it that it's clown colors? Is it
I don't
football?
know.
You don't need
McDonald's colors.
You don't
It's
need.
like a create your own uniform in a video game colors.
But what if they win for like 5 years? Then will they
No.
suddenly become dominant just because they won and every time the quarterback was doing that with 13 seconds left?
No,
It's
I
just
don't know. We'll discuss it in 5 years, I guess.
yeah.
You have to say married to a uniform set if you're dominant. Look at that ridiculous piping the Patriots had for damn near 20 years. They just had to keep trotting out those road whites with a ridiculous side panel. Absurd, but they kept winning.
well, you've been the big color guy around here. Do you agree
Oh,
with
I'm so
Billy?
happy. It seemed as though we broke a dam down because everybody was talking about the color clash, particularly in that Bucks Rams game in the afternoon with the light just going down. Everything was perfect. The field was popping. It was a joy to watch. It was visually stimulating.
That's as good as football gets, right? And if you're a sports fan, if you're a fan of sports, what you watched yesterday, not necessarily this weekend, because Saturday comparatively somehow was constipated.
But the whole weekend was great. Yes, yesterday was the day, but the whole weekend, both number one seeds are out. Rodgers is out. Brady is out. It was a ridiculous weekend. It was fantastic.
I found myself rooting against Aaron Rodgers. That's
should,
never happened to me before.
We should break down
Crazy.
the show today where every hour just talks about one of the playoff games. Yeah. Like Big Suey, we'll get all our Bengals Titans takes out.
I don't think Bengals Titans rises to the level of these other things that we're talking
That
about.
game was incredible.
Great game.
Impossible position Mike Vrabel seemingly was in, but Foreman should have been getting snaps. If Henry wasn't, we'll get to all of this in a minute.
Well, Foreman had
Big
more
Suey, Big Suey.
rushing yards than Henry, and he had like 5 carries,
He had
right?
4 carries, yeah.
They have 2 Henrys.
Save it next hour.
But with Chiefs and Bills, like we peaked last night, not just in football, in sports. We peaked last night.
Chris.
Everything is downhill from there. We will never do better than that.
We think.
Give me an when's the last time?
No, Chris. I thought we wouldn't do better than the 1 o'clock game with Brady coming back, or the 3 o'clock game, and then we did better.
We peaked with Prieto's 2 minutes against Miami.
Mike Ryan wants this to be just the Titans Bengals hour, and I think this will make us too sloppy as a show. And if we do Titans Bengals here, it means we might not have enough time in the rest of the show to talk about all the other games the right way, Mike. I think we got to do Titans Bengals last. Time remaining, Matt Damon in the green room with Jimmy Kimmel. Like we might not ever get to Titans Bengals.
You don't think that Mike Vrabel tanked that game just so he didn't have to cut off his penis?
Yep. His penis was the big winner,
All
Dano.
right, we'll get to the Bengals Titans later then, I guess.
I'm just
So
asking you.
2019.
So if we've got 3 hours left to do, then maybe we do 1 hour on Saturday and then 1 hour on Rams Bucks and then another hour on Bills Chiefs, and then we're covered for the weekend.
How the bleep do you win that game surrendering 9 sacks?
He's the
How?
first quarterback to win a game when being sacked 9 times, regular season or postseason, since 2000.
There is just
It's insane.
There is. If you would have told me before the game the Bengals are going to get sacked 9 times, I would have stopped you mid-sentence and said, I'm going to put all my money on the Titans money line. If you say the Bengals aren't going to score over 20 points and surrender 9 sacks, I would have been like, I'll find someone else's money to put on this with me. I cannot believe the Bengals just flatly sold out.
Unless you say, well, Tannehill 3 turnovers, just know that Brady doesn't usually lose the games where the other team gives up 4 turnovers. That does not happen very often. I'm guessing it's probably never happened.
That's a different game, Dan, and a different day.
Different analysis, different
on
hour.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got to stay here. I'm going to have
Stay on
trouble with
Saturday.
this.
Yep. Tighten up.
Winning offenses on Saturday produced 1 offensive touchdown and 13 sacks of their quarterback.
You want to do this Saturday? You want to just break? Because we could spend the whole hour on Aaron Rodgers. Could we not? Could we not
That's
spend
Saturday.
You can. Take it away.
You want to go for it?
Well, what else do you
Are
have?
you done with Titans Bengals?
Well, I
'Cause
didn't
I'm not.
think.
That's it?
I did not think Titans Bengals was that interesting. Did you?
That's only because 3 more interesting games happened right after it.
Beyond what you just said.
I think it's plenty interesting because of the Derrick Henry situation, the Tannehill thing. Now, maybe people, because of all the other football that happened, maybe people will forget to have the Ryan Tannehill conversation. They're probably intended.
He
to.
gets $38 million next year. He's their quarterback. Like he got $11 million this year. He gets $38 million next year.
They played this game on the wrong weekend because if this game happened last weekend, it would have been the best game of the weekend, and it would have been like, holy crap, these playoffs are crazy. Every weekend there's games that are going down to the wire. But this weekend you're like, eh.
You do realize it's because of what Chris Cody was saying, the escalation. Last weekend was JV. This weekend was the pros. It's the escalation.
How does it get better, though?
It is the escalation. You're right about what you said. Yes, Bengals Titans would have been hugely interesting if it had not been dwarfed. But wait a minute. They just might have ended Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. They could have just ended, be careful, Dan, I care about you, Tom Brady in Tampa.
Didn't happen, Dan.
They could. And then you watch the 2 quarterbacks be amazing.
You had the 2 1 seeds in each conference on Saturday lose the game, yet Sunday was infinitely more interesting and entertaining. It's crazy. What a great weekend.
Well, also the first game, the first batch of games didn't have offense in it, right? Like that's not.
Yes.
10-7. It's actually a
defense
crappy,
wins championships.
Green Bay, thank you, Stugotz. Except special teams was what won the championship at the end at the end of Saturday.
We did have a kicker calling his shot. It's kind of a Stugotz move because he did the thing where I don't think the news ever comes out that he said, "Hey, we're going to the AFC Championship game." If you know what I mean, if he misses the kick, that never gets out. So it's one of those things you call your shot, and if you hit it, you look like a genius.
How about calling it on a 52-yard field goal, though? I mean, McPherson walking out there and telling Joe Burrow, hey, looks like we're headed to the AFC Championship
Burrow's got
game.
a little Stugotz in him, though. Burrow does a lot of this, telling the stories of somebody told me such and such.
I love it.
Burrow's got like 7 of them. Now, maybe all the Bengals are wandering around saying this stuff.
Joey franchise. I mean,
But Joe does feed the machine a little bit. He's been doing it since LSU, where everyone tells him exactly what's going to happen after it's happened. So are you believing that? Do you think it's true?
yeah, I'm believing it.
Okay, because you want to believe it, correct?
Of course I do,
You
yes.
want what else about that game was interesting? Because Foreman did look a lot quicker, and Derrick Henry was running with a metal plate in his foot and 5 screws. 5 screws and a metal plate in his foot.
I think the shocking thing is that we were all surprised that had an effect on Derrick Henry, just because he's built up this reputation where it's just for 5 years we're like, those SEC miles are going to catch up, all those touches are going to catch up, and yet he continued to defy logic that he enters, he's dropped into the starting lineup, same usage as he used to always get with a metal plate in his foot, and we're like, why isn't he the same?
Why is he
Derrick
being
Henry?
stopped at 4th and goal on the goal line?
Why is this totally logical dip in form actually playing out before our eyes?
Do you guys find interesting at all in that game, for example? We can microscopically analyze a million things. But Vrabel gets a penalty after they score the first touchdown. Derrick Henry sweep on the left. It's 6-6. They're going to kick the extra point, make it 7-6. Penalty, they get a yard closer. They say, okay, a yard out, we'll just give it to Derrick Henry. We will get a yard.
Mm-hmm.
And that point ends up haunting them. You could do that in every one of those games one time and get totally different teams playing. That's how good those games were.
Yes.
All of them decided at the end. All of them decided by a bounce. You could do that. The math I just did, you could do to every game and get a different result than the one you have, and have 4 different teams in the last batch of games.
But I think in the AFC, at least for me, we got the results that we wanted because I wanted to see Cincinnati and Kansas City play again. They just played a few weeks ago. The Bengals won that game. It was a great game. I think it was 34-31. And now we get a rematch of that game. Like, I didn't want to see Chiefs-Titans. I wanted to see Burrow versus Mahomes.
Can I do a little follow a curiosity here? I want to do a little test. The Titans defense got 9 sacks on Joe Burrow. Without touching your computers, Stugotz, close that window. Name a Titan defender. Name a Titan defender.
One defender? I got nothing
Bud
for you.
Dupree.
That's the only one that I could name entering that game was Bud Dupree. I mean, I don't know who had multiple sacks on that game, but a handful of players got their names called out in all the glory of a national audience sacking Joe Burrow.
You never heard of Jeff Simmons?
Still have Cortland Finnegan?
No, I do not.
Matthias Farley.
Javon Curse.
The freak.
9 sacks because the
Keith
Bengals
Bullock is still there, right?
the Bengals can't block anybody, and a lot of people were pointing that out and saying, well, a lot of Dolphin fans were saying, well, look, this is that just won a playoff game with no offensive line help. I can't believe, and this is a different game, different hour, but I can't believe that the Bucs were able to overcome what they were able to overcome, 3 offensive linemen out and Aaron Donald being maximum Aaron Donald.
And Von Miller.
Wrong hour, though.
Is Hainsworth still there?
The Titans, I do think A.J. Brown, Julio Jones. You certainly didn't think Foreman before yesterday. Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill.
A.J. Brown, that touchdown pass. No, that was the best throw from the worst quarterback we saw this weekend of football.
Garoppolo. I mean.
Well, Garoppolo, too. It's just, I understand the notion that all our teams are JV teams because they're so limited. And then you see Jimmy Garoppolo with such a great team be, yet again, a game from the Super Bowl. You don't need the Joe Burrow and the Patrick Mahomes and the Josh Allens, but God, it would be really nice.
But you do, though. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo, in my personal record book, lost that game. Like, that's not a win for Jimmy Garoppolo. I was annoyed when they talked to him after the game, and he's like giving all the platitudes about a team win. He didn't do shit.
It's
like,
so great. It
How about
really
the guy
is.
who blocked the punts?
Yes, interview him. Interview
Yes.
anybody else. Anybody else. I mean, I get you want to put his handsome face on camera. I get it, but like, he didn't do anything. Like,
Wrong day, Chris. I'm going to need to shut you up.
He should have tweeted that after the game. Aaron Rodgers won that game in my personal record book. He should have done that. That would have been good.
That game was Saturday. You're good, Chris. It's a play on for me.
My bad.
Yeah.
I thought
Get
we
your
were
games and
keeping
days
this.
right.
I thought we were trying to do just Titans Bengals here. You guys are confusing me.
How have we taken so long to bury Ryan Tannehill?
Yes.
We have gone on far too long about Titans Bengals. I've been trying to tell you guys about Ryan Tannehill. You cannot. It's not tip passes.
Padded balls. That was the book on him. I did a song about padded balls.
You did.
I did. You find it.
But I mean, that last interception, he's throwing it in double coverage, and it gets bad in the air. Like, he was not going to lead the Tennessee Titans. He is not going to lead the Tennessee Titans to a Super Bowl. They won a bunch of games this year. I still don't know how, by DVOA, one of the worst 1 seeds in the history of the sport, and somehow got to 12-5, got to a record where he's better than the Bills and the Chiefs. But you can't trust him. You can't trust Garoppolo. You need to find one of those guys. No one is thinking that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to lead them all, though. I'm not thinking that, at least.
He was 6
Tannehill
minutes
is not
from
going to get you
doing
there.
it. He was 2 years ago. He was sick. If
Nick Foles got you there.
If the 49ers covered Tyreek Hill the way that every team has learned to cover him since, they don't convert the 3rd and 20 that they converted in that game. Otherwise, Jimmy Garoppolo's already got 1 championship and is now playing for 2nd. And when I said he was 4-1 in the 5 games, that's the loss. The loss is in the Super Bowl.
Wait, he beat Dak in Dallas. He beat Aaron in Green
He
Bay.
didn't beat Dak in Dallas.
I know, but
they
the team
beat Dak in Dallas.
But the team. So you're not going to be shocked if they beat the Rams now. You can't be.
He was fine until he wasn't in that game.
You don't trust him at all
Did
in
just
big
enough.
situations.
Outside the numbers, I do not trust him. No, but he's better than Trey Lance. Clearly, if Trey Lance can't get on the field. So, look, it's not. I understand we all want to get excited about Burrow v. Mahomes, and you need one of those things, but we all got a chuckle out of a throwback image from just a couple of championship weekends ago, where the 4 quarterbacks left were Tom Brady, Blake Bortles, Case Keenum, and Nick Foles. That was all that was standing in Tom Brady's way of a title, and he couldn't overcome it.
But Mike, we've been having a version of this conversation through Joe Flacco being elite and everything else that dates back to people pointing to the outlier of, well, you can win one with Trent Dilfer because they had a historically great defense in Baltimore. We've been doing that for a while. I would say that this is not coming off the mountain with tablets, but your quarterback's good. All you're doing is increasing all your probabilities, Mike. It doesn't mean you can't do it with an average quarterback. It doesn't mean you can't shell game your way to a block punt and then all of a sudden Garoppolo's good enough for a couple of games, but you just improve your odds. I'd like to see Shanahan have, when he had Matt Ryan, he was up 28-3 in the Super Bowl on the Patriots. Like I've not seen yet.
You want to see him with a real quarterback?
I've not seen Shanahan with Aaron Rodgers.
You'll see it next year.
I haven't seen that yet.
Well, you saw it with Matt Ryan, and he won the MVP, as you guys alluded
No,
to.
with Aaron Rodgers is what I'm saying. One of these quarterbacks that we're talking about, the other level of quarterback that we're talking about, not one of the 15 best quarterbacks, but one of the best 5.
If you can't beat him, join him type deal for Aaron Rodgers. Because
Why not?
There's 2 universal principles that we should all subscribe to. If the Titans are the number 1 seed in the AFC, they're losing in the divisional round. It always happens to them. And Aaron Rodgers will always lose to the San Francisco 49ers. And if there's a third one, is that this is not my key.
A lonely hotline waving in a tight window, staring at a past that he just can't touch. If Ryan Tannehill just pump fakes, he'll be hit in stride. But the Texans' D-line just had Aggie for lunch. And the screen pass just ain't working at all, 'cause Legadoo will never command the double. So Ryan goes out and makes the plays the best way he knows how. Another Dolphins interception, a fumble. Listen to me. Don't go throwing batted balls. Please stick to the egg news and the lanes that you're used to. You should throw the ball away or sometimes do nothing at all. The game is simply moving too fast.
12 years on Tannehill? Has it been 12 years trying to figure out, will you tolerate him being maximum Tannehill when you don't need him to at the 9-yard line with a screen pass? Because I just texted Whittingham as soon as that happened, just with PTSD, maximum Tannehill. You're at the goal line. Just go ahead and just throttle him right here. Just look, you're better. You're at home. You've had a bye week. You're sacking them 9 times. Just finish them. Finish him, goddammit! Tannehill, finish him! And it's like, no! Now you're making the tackle again. Tannehill, I'm so tired. Are you making the tackle 30 yards away? Stop it!
I know you are all looking with all these elite quarterbacks with jealous envy. Now, obviously, Cleveland has a quarterback situation, but that's not what I'm doing. Because I think if a healthy Baker Mayfield can compete, what I'm looking at with jealous rage is the kickers, particularly in the AFC North. Now I got to deal with McPherson's ass for another 2 decades.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm at the very tail end, hopefully, of Justin Tucker.
No, you're not.
You're scared of kickers? That's how scarred
now
you
I
are?
got
You're scared of the
McPherson.
kickers?
You're in the AFC. After those final 2 minutes, and your takeaway is kickers.
Yeah, I'm not worried about having to deal with Joe Burrow for the next 15
Or
years.
Lamar
Bucker.
Jackson, former NFL MVP.
I'm not worried about the quarterbacks. I'm worried about the kickers. As I come out there with Chase McLaughlin, and I'm trying to compete, and I can't get a 38-yarder. My butt is so tight anytime we try to attempt one of these, and McPherson's out here calling his shot before a 52-yard field goal. They're playing different math. It's not fair.
I mean, the Dolphins do have a good kicker, though, so that doesn't help that much if that's all you have.
Took a step back this season.
Took
a big step back.
Sanders
This
Took
is
a big step back.
He did?
Yeah,
Who
big time
knew?
regression.
Oh.
This is the guy who never regresses, though, and really, if you want to get to the core kernel of Mike's rage here, is he's simply haunted by Justin Tucker. Like, it's great envy to have a cheat code where you just, okay, if you get close, you're going to get 3 points. Like, that's not what I'm not trusting Randy Bullock to get me those points.
45 plus for most fan bases is this is a 50-50 proposition. For me, it is not something that you enter any sort of confidence in. And if all the other teams in the AFC North can just have confidence about their guy trotting up to that because they just changed the math. They're so electric, and we all want to go for it on fourth down.
So electric.
They are. McPherson is an electric kicker.
No, I will not
No,
allow
he
this.
is.
I will not
allow this.
I will not abide by you ignoring his electricity. He is an electric kicker.
Joe Burrow said after the game, you know when you have yourself a good kicker. The way he carries himself, the way he stares at you, the way he walks around the facility, like he is here to play football.
All right, Guillermo, put it on the poll. Thank you, Stugotz.
That's what Joe Burrow said,
thank
man.
I
you.
don't think that video was doctored of him doing the bottle cap challenge at Florida.
How about Robbie Gould with a big kick?
At LeBatard Show, I just simply want to know if you're allowed to describe ever a kicker as electric.
It took him 40 tries, Dan, but he absolutely spun the top off a Gatorade bottle at the UF practice facility. Google this. The precision that McPherson has is unfair. It's unfair, and it's as unique as Joe Burrow's talent. Once you have one of those, you do not let them go. You do not.
I'm going to be skeptical, Billy, about that video of him spinning the top off of a gate. Like, there's no chance. There is no chance that he did that. Like, it just looks doctored. You watch the video, it's like, it's impossible that a human being could do this.
He was on Countdown before, and maybe this is a Stugotz move where he's given the detail of it took 40 tries, so maybe that is like all part of the scheme of this lie, but he said 40 tries, so I mean, he seemed honest.
See the raw video.
Mike, have you ever before today, and we're going to get accused of hyperventilating as a show and having prisoner of the moment, but have you ever before today described a kicker as electric?
Justin Tucker. And occasionally Chris Boswell kicking into the windy side of Hines.
Not electric. You've described those as people who you fear and you get rage filled because it's not fair that
it's not fair that they're so good at it and everyone else is so bad or inconsistent. They are automatic.
Talk to a Bears fan too, Dan. Every time Robbie Gould has made a kick in the last 6 years, Bears fans have been crying to themselves, except for on Saturday when it knocked Aaron Rodgers out of the playoffs.
I believe at one point I described Caleb Sturgis as the greatest Dolphin place kicker in the history of the franchise because I was.
Bull. Let me hear your top 5.
Really? You had him over Olindo Mare?
I had him over Olindo Mare.
Get out of here.
I had him over Flawed Reves.
No.
I had him over Garo Upremian.
No.
Yes.
Garo, get out of here.
Yes. I had him as
I don't
the
know why
greatest.
I was doing it. He had that
Undefeated,
moment,
I
but it
mean.
was an embarrassing moment, so probably
He did-
not.
no,
Mari's the
but
best.
no, but
Stojanovic?
All of those guys, though.
Stojanovic.
No, but this is what I'm saying. Just like
Stojanovic.
all of the athletes have gotten bigger, stronger, faster,
Right.
nothing has gotten better than that position. Like there was a few years ago, people who study this stuff said that no position in sports had improved more from Garo Upremian's time to now in accuracy as the field goal kicker across sports. It was the greatest improvement. So I'm remembering through a child's eyes that I trusted Garo Upremian on those undefeated teams, or I trusted Pete Stojanovic on those teams, but none of those guys are as good as today's guys.
Did people even stretch back then? I feel like they just kind of walked out on the field and tore their groin every time they had to make a kick.
None of the kickers then are better than the kickers now.
Not by percentage.
Mark Mosley was perfect and won an MVP for the Redskins.
And it was like 19 kicks or something, or what was it? 26 of 27
I think
or
he was
something?
18 of 18.
Yeah, but they were kicking with those shoes that didn't even have toes and the balls. It's totally different, Dan. If those kickers were kicking with today's technology, whew, good night.
Dan, Uwe van Schamen, OLI.
Oh, my God.
Well, but I'm guessing when I say
You're
Gary,
embarrassing yourself.
you don't
I gotta be honest.
understand. When I say Gary Upremian, I'm guessing that he made 56% of his kicks because go Google search Gary Upremian so you can see what this guy looks like. Back then,
I prefer not to.
Back then we were getting
Too soon.
Back then we were getting kickers off of just a soccer field somewhere. He was a little guy. He might as well have run out there with a cigarette in his mouth. That's not what Justin Tucker is anymore. Hell, Jay Feely, Mike. Jay Feely introduced us to kickers wearing gloves and having biceps.
He introduced that was within the realm of possibility, that a kicker could just hit the gym with the rest of the guys. I never considered this before.
Jay Feely has also introduced us to kicking analysts. I enjoy that they go to him 3 times a game. And it's like, it's a big kick. Jim, back to you.
Yeah. Tight windows, man. They're not giving Jay Feely more than 9 seconds.
They don't want him to talk too much. They do not want. This is just like, let's go to a guy we're paying for his analysis, and that's what he gives you every once in a while. Is just like, big kick here, guys.
I actually think this is a different game, so allow me, but I'm following the Jay Feely path, and I have that tether. I thought CBS was actually kind of bad yesterday. They miss. Look, you have a special teams correspondent. You don't go to him on that snap and hold that low-key saved the season.
Wrong day.
No.
Dan?
I asked for the tether. I said I had the tether of Jay
I
Feely.
don't know.
I asked for the tether. I cleared out. I asked for the tether.
Wrong day. You got to save that for later in the
I got a
podcast.
tether.
This is all.
I got the tether.
I told you we didn't
I
have
said I
enough
called the shot.
I told you we didn't have enough on Titans Bengals to do a full podcast segment on Titans Bengals.
You were probably right.
But we can
T.
go,
Higgins.
we can
That's
do
all I got.
we can do Whittingham's thing though of now moving over
Just Saturday night.
to Rush Lambeau. Heave Bannon, he was being called. Aaron Rodgers as a narrative swing, because that game is only interesting if that happens. If Green Bay wins 10-7, not the same kind of interesting. Interesting of like, oh, wow, we're talking about a forever quarterback, and his legacy is going to get stained by Skip Bayless is going to be able to go out there today and just say overrated, and do the quarterback analysis the way that you do it because he gave him another of a stinker. When Stugotz, what I would argue in this game, and again, I've got to say this because I swear to you, it's not a defense. I found myself enjoying the fact that somehow they botched it away, that organization at the very end fails him again.
Mosley was 20 of 21 that season. He won the MVP. He missed 3 extra points. How do you win an MVP when you miss 3 extra points?
How did Aaron fail them? Aaron, even after the game, said that he cost them the game.
Well, just the block kick. I mean, the special teams. The fact that nobody was going to – they score a touchdown on the first drive and then don't – look, I don't want to defend him. He didn't play well, didn't play well enough. I'd make the argument their home field advantage harms their quarterback. I'd make the argument that you take away his greatest advantages by making it the elements when they get at home, that their greatest but
it's cold in Kansas City,
but
man.
not good enough. But not good enough. So guys, I'm just saying that
Cold in Miami right
it's
now.
cold in Buffalo. I mean,
In a
It's
vacuum.
freezing here right now.
Dan has been with this take for a long time, and in a vacuum, I get it. Yeah, I'd rather have my quarterback playing in a dome. But at the same time, that you have to toss that argument out the window when Jimmy Garoppolo is playing in 0-degree weather too, in a game that visibly looks like it hurts. Every time someone goes to the ground, they're getting up slow in that game. It's not just the physical nature of how the San Francisco 49ers play football. It's because of the cold.
You can simply tell me, hey, MVP quarterback, it can't be 10 points, and I don't have an argument. You win all arguments if it sounds at any point like I'm defending the play of Aaron Rodgers, okay? You get the winning argument today, not good enough. You're the MVP of the league. Both quarterbacks in that game had a chance at the end to make a game-winning drive, and it was Garoppolo who did it. It was not Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers also had the ball.
it's a great point. After the block punt, it seemed like the game was over. It was 10-10. It was a tie game. Aaron got the ball back, did nothing with it.
I will
nothing.
win no arguments if it sounds to anyone like I'm saying MVP of the league, 10 points at home is good enough. It is not. He has underachieved as a winner indisputably, because when you're that kind of good, you usually do a little bit better than one Super Bowl. I think they're the only team ever to win 39 games over a 3-year span and not make a Super Bowl. They have been really good for a long time, and he's been really good, and he's not in the playoffs. That's not up for dispute. His excellence is substandard at the playoffs and at home because they're not that good at home either. But I think that part of that is the year they won the Super Bowl, he went through domes on the road. There were no elements.
He did, yeah.
He just went, and he crushed everybody. He slaughtered everybody, going through domes on the road where nobody was close. Went through Atlanta. It was just like, oh, okay, this is going to be easy for him, and it was.
It's easier for him when he's playing in warm weather. It's easier for him when he's playing in a dome. That goes without saying. But, Dan, He's the greatest quarterback I think many of us have ever seen. Some people will question it. You're asking that man, put up 14 points at home, and you advance on to the NFC Championship game. 14 points. I don't care how cold it is outside. That guy should be able to generate 14 points.
Let's be honest. The field is heated there. It's not that cold on the ground.
Is it possible that we can view him as being selfish and possibly a compiler during the regular season? Because if you know the playoffs are going to give you this challenge if you get home field advantage, don't get home field advantage. Maybe you pull it back a little bit and give yourself an easier path to the Super Bowl.
Just do it for
not tanking.
No, he was tanking by playing at home.
Leadership. That's what it's called. You know there's going to be a challenge if you play at home. Don't play at home. Or the NFL should just give you the option. Hey, where do you want to play? You're the best. Where do you want to play this week?
If that game's in San Francisco, I feel like the Packers win by 3 touchdowns.
Oh, well, they drag him pretty consistently, though. They've dragged him
he's
there.
Lost in San Francisco, too.
It is the universe laughing at Aaron Rodgers that this could, you can make an argument this is one of the best teams he's ever had, and the dual thing of, oh, wait, ice and that San Francisco team. That San Francisco team that has dragged him, like we've seen him play very poorly against, recently, one of his better teams also didn't get anywhere near the Super Bowl because they had to go through San Francisco and lost both times. Lost to Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick's greatest playoff game, greatest football moment was against Green Bay. That franchise has devoured that dude. And I thought the most interesting part of it as a narrative, State Farm spokesman Stugotz, like this is a real change in everything that Aaron Rodgers was that happened, 6 months? 6 months, Aaron Rodgers found himself this last weekend, I think, the majority of people listening to this were laughing at him.
Laughing at him and rooting against him, yeah.
But laughing at losing at home.
Yes. Because
he showed you more, right? A while ago, he and Mina Kimes did a profile because Aaron Rodgers did want America to see more of him. Aaron Rodgers was intent on showing more of his personality at that position than he had shown before. And there's no reason for Aaron Rodgers. I think he went to Mina's house. I think he went to her apartment because Aaron Rodgers was interested in you seeing a side of him. Holy shit, Stugotz. I mean, holy shit. The last 6 months, that can't feel good. Just energetically. The cosmos pressed on your neck, rooting for you to fail. Laughing at you. Laughing at what has to be a pretty good misery, right? Because he just had a hell of a season, and it ends with the punctuation of laughter.
It can't feel good, but, I mean, he brought it on himself, did he not?
Agreed.
With his ridiculous opinions about vaccines and lying to people.
I think he's vaulted to the top of American sports schadenfreude. Like, the athlete anywhere in America that fans wanted to root against.
Thank you for
regardless
explaining.
of sport.
Yes.
But it's not all of us. This needs to be said, too, right? Because everyone accuses us of being an echo chamber. It's this show, but was that a loss for a lot of people? Were they hoping that he got to the Super Bowl and Boomer Esiason's secret mystery source text, a prank that he was going to sit out the Super Bowl and that Jordan Love should get ready?
Now we'll never know.
Because there are plenty of people who were rooting for him, correct, as a freedom fighter on behalf of the unvaccinated. No? There were plenty of people, but yet to think of the State Farm salesman as that kind of polarizing is simply not something I could have imagined 6 months ago. I didn't have the capacity.
I'm sure State Farm didn't either.
I don't think anybody had him calling it the fake White House.
Jake from State Farm would be such a great quarterback. Don't you guys think?
He is jacked, by the way.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I would have him start a playoff game. If I'm looking at the three people in the commercials, sometimes it's Jake, it's Patrick, and it's Aaron. I think I would have Jake number 1 or number 2 on who I would want quarterbacking my team in a playoff game.
I'd rather have him point guard my team than Chris Paul.
Really?
Wow.
On appearance, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
You'd rather have him at quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. That goes without saying.
Oh,
right?
yeah, duh.
Right.
I'm going to look up Jake's athletic resume.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you on this.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Please do as urgently as you can. But how did we Did we expire everything? All the takes that there are to be had on Bengals Titans? Is everyone done? Because I feel like we may have erred because we have not gotten into some of the crazy ass shit that happened on Sunday that involves the Tampa Bay Bucks, Stugotz, because that game was lunacy.
It really was. It was crazy. Just quickly on the Bengals, it's just, and we said it earlier this season where with 3 draft picks, they have changed their entire organization with Mixon, with Burrow, with Jamar Chase. I'm super excited. It's the matchup I wanted to see. I wanted to see Burrow versus Mahomes. I love when you have a young guy coming for the other guy's stuff, right? And so the
Who's
AFC,
also a young guy.
I know, who's also a young guy. But
we just saw the young guy in Buffalo coming for the other guy's stuff.
We
also a
keep
young
saying it, but the AFC is so fascinating to me from this standpoint. When you have Patrick Mahomes and you have Justin Herbert, who didn't even make the playoffs, and you have Josh Allen and you have Joe Burrow, it's going to be so fun for so long in the AFC. I'm just excited for it.
People are going to take this as a slight, and I don't mean it as a slight. I happen to like this Bengals team, which is, I'm a Browns fan. That's hard for me to say. Even Joe Burrow would concede that he doesn't have the greatest arm strength, that he had to work on that this offseason. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how the Bengals win when they have one of the worst offensive lines in football, and he doesn't have this attribute that wows us. It is just he gets it done.
Are you underwhelmed by accuracy, though? Because I would say in the breakdowns that I have seen of throws that he's making and decision-making that he's doing, when you say you don't see stuff, looking off of receivers, going to second routes, throwing to places where he's throwing to automatically, because I'm telling you again, with bigger, stronger, faster, the level of precision that you are seeing in this sport has no precedent. The people being thrown to, the size of them, the quarterbacks, their accuracy, and the way they practice all week to be a machine that at the end of the games, even exhausted, can be great at offense. What you're seeing is a precision that has not been seen before in the sport. And Burrow specifically, Mike, when you're talking about the accuracy of it, do you feel like you have the eye to see if Burrow's as accurate as Breeze and has a little more arm strength, is that good enough? Because Breeze's arm strength was never the thing.
No, he just had the accuracy, and we'll continue to see Burrow. Maybe that's the attribute that sticks out to most for me. And again, it's not a slight. If anything, I'm hyping him up because I think he's doing all of this in spite of having a bad offensive line and not a real single all-world elite attribute that you can point to. I'm puzzled by it. This wasn't supposed to happen this year. Once they got Jamar Chase in the draft, I was like, okay, they'll just get that generational talent. They'll continue to build out the offensive line, and maybe that's a punt on this year's playoffs.
31 years without a playoff win. That's their first. Was that their first road playoff win as a franchise?
And Chase had back-to-back 100-yard games. He's the first rookie receiver to do that in the playoffs.
Not enough conversation about how good T. Higgins is because he'd be a number one at the majority of other NFL teams, I think. And it's just flabbergasting how they're able to do this in spite of an offensive line. And next year, they'll head into an offseason with only one thing that they have to address. Their defense isn't even particularly special either, yet they're here. And it's a rematch of one of the best regular season games we saw this past season. And I'm not going to write them off.
They beat them. They beat the Chiefs.
You don't have to write them off, but even understanding that none of us know how to predict these games, did Cowherd take all chalk in these games? Did he take all favorites and would have gone 0-4 if not for the miracle in Kansas City? The thing that I would tell you tell me if you think I'm wrong about this. It's an oversimplified analysis. You tell me if you think I'm wrong. As we've been spending all season, who's the best team? Who's the best team? Who's the best team? I mean, maybe you can make an argument for Tampa somewhere in here, but don't you feel like you just saw them play last night? The two best.
The two best?
The two. Don't you feel like we could sit here and do?
Rams are good,
but,
man.
The Rams are good, but don't you? I'm not saying that it's so. I'm saying, did you not feel while watching one of the most memorable games that you've ever seen that what you were watching is after an extraordinary weekend of football, the two best teams at the end were the ones you want to see keep playing for the rest of time. You want to change the overtime rules. You want to make it the Super Bowl right now because that was the last 2 minutes of that was the most fun.
But the Bengals just beat the Chiefs, and it was a very entertaining game. Like, I don't know. It's tough.
I think I need to see it play out. Because,
But
like,
one
gun to
game's
my
not
head
gonna
right now,
tell-
I'm like, San Francisco's the best team.
But Mike, one game's not going to tell you when they can be decided by a bounce. Like these samples aren't going to tell you. There's nothing. I mean, something could play out. Somebody could blow somebody out, I suppose.
So regardless of what happens the rest of the way, you feel like last night you were watching the two best teams in the NFL. You might be right.
That's why I thought it was special, though. The reason that I thought it was special is because I was saying to myself, as many of you were, neither one of these teams should lose. Like, they don't deserve.
It felt wrong.
They should keep playing because they seem exceptional at what it is that they're doing, even more precise than all the precision we have seen for the last couple of days. But now I'm off on Sunday instead of Saturday again. Now I'm analyzing the wrong games.
It's tough.
I'll bring it back to Saturday with the San Francisco 49ers because they've been playing playoffs for 3 weeks because they needed to come back from, 17 down at Los Angeles, week 18. That was an unreal comeback. I think based on current form, that's the best team in the NFL.
It's like the baseball thing. What usually happens in baseball is happening in football this year, where the San Francisco 49ers are just the hottest team. That usually doesn't happen in football.
But it's not.
They're a talented team, though.
But they got healthy, too.
It's healthy, but
They
you
got
say
hot because they got healthy.
Mike, you say healthy, though. I saw their three best players limp off the field in the last minute of the game.
Healthy
I don't know.
enough to play. They were available. But, yeah.
They played the whole game, though.
Look, Warner,
My point is, what are they going to look like now that they run into the next...
It'll be warmer.
They've got to do two more of these, and they
Feels
don't.
not even that cold.
There's not a lot of rest. All three of the dudes at the end of the longest regular season we've ever seen, Stugotz. Like, teams are going to be physically broken, and I like the 49ers healthy too, but I can't tell you today whether they're healthy. I saw all three of their guys limp off in the last minute.
It should be noted that Joe Buck thinks that field is plenty cold over in Los Angeles.
Well, what is happening here where Jessica says it's not you say it hurts to land on the field, and Jessica says everyone knows it's warm.
Let me read you something from the New York Times, Dan. Quote, "The frozen tundra is a myth. The ground at Lambeau Field, legendary home of the Green Bay Packers, is heated. It has not been frozen during a football game since it was dubbed the, quote, frozen tundra more than 40 years ago."
Wow. They had that technology 40 years ago?
And that's a Jessica Smetana exclusive.
Wow.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second.
Not a Sunday conversation. It was a Jay Feely conversation.
We've got some show items to get to first. So Stugotz wants to wish a happy birthday to Neil Diamond.
Big day.
81-year-old Neil Diamond. And also we've got
happy birthday
Thank
to him. I don't care. Good luck.
It's also the 48th birthday of Tim Biakabatuka, one of the great comedic sports names of all time. And I don't know, Stugotz was putting together, for reasons I don't understand earlier, top 5 list of hardest running backs for some reason. I don't know if Biakabatuka made the list, but for some reason Stugotz had a list of top 5 running backs who run the hardest out of nowhere.
It was in honor of Cam Akers, who runs really hard, but I scratched the list.
In honor of Cam Akers.
He runs really hard, and I was thinking of my top 5 hardest runners in NFL history because of Cam Akers, but then he fumbled twice, and I didn't want to do it anymore. I soured on the idea. But I will tell you that Natron Means Business was on the list. How about that?
Okay. So that
I could still revive it if you'd like.
No, that's okay. We don't need to hear it. Let's get to the other items, and we've got to get to Mike Ryan's tether as well. Also, we got to get to Meatloaf. Passed away. Louis Anderson passed away. Meatloaf, is he the greatest fat rocker
His
ever?
name is Robert Paulson.
Mm-hmm.
Is he the great? It's not a fine.
You've never seen Fight Club.
That is not a fine, Stugotz.
That was an incredible bit of humor if you intended it, though.
Do you remember in Fight Club where Ed Norton wrapped his face in the bosom of Meatloaf?
Clearly, I don't.
Is he the greatest fat rocker ever? I did not know
rockers.
I did not know that rockers were
I got a
allowed
top
to
5.
be fat. You do?
Yeah,
You put Jerry Garcia on that list.
You got a top 5 fat rockers? Okay, we'll get to that in a
Man,
second.
I just had to stop my hardest runners.
Time out. Do you want my hardest runners list? Because I still have it.
Well, but I thought you said you didn't want to do the hardest
Well,
runners
I mean,
list.
I'm thinking about reviving it because it seems exciting.
I didn't realize that fumbles would cost Akers a spot on you deeming him a hard runner. He had 24 carries for 48 yards yesterday.
But he runs hard. I mean,
I know you didn't ask for me, but I had already burned up my 5 hardest runners, so I'm just going to go through that and then pivot to fattest rockers.
All right,
Okay.
all right. Is
That
Steven,
I-
you
that
just
rock
why
hardest.
don't you just move? Why don't you just throw them all together? Just a jumble. We got to keep it moving.
Because it doesn't make sense. First off, like I almost put John Popper on the hardest runners list, so one thing at a time. All right.
oh, where
that
was
would be
Popper?
That would be a great nickname for a hard runner.
Would be.
A blues traveler, like a guy who travels and delivers.
Yeah, the Blues Traveler. Wow, John Popper, the Blues Traveler. That's incredible.
It's a good name for a running back.
Yeah.
I am just telling you right now, Bronco Nagurski better be in your top 5.
He's not. Number
Oh, my
5,
God.
Brandon Jacobs.
What?
It's a good one.
Number 4, Marion Barber.
Nice.
Steven Jackson going to be on here.
Nope. Number 3, Adrian Peterson.
All good.
Yeah, a lot of running backs with dreads did not make the list. I could do just like a top 5 hardest running backs that had dreads, and we'd have a lot of the same names. Number 2 is Jim Brown.
Oh, so Earl Campbell's got to be on this
Time out.
list too, then.
Zonko or Riggins is not on the list.
So I decided I was only going to have one person from the Oilers/Titans franchise, and I went with Derrick Henry.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, my God.
It's a good list.
Marshawn Lynch, OLI?
Yeah, OLI.
How about Riggo?
No.
How about others receiving votes for John Riggins?
I have a different list for like hardest white running backs.
Okay.
Number 5, Toby Gerhardt.
All right.
Bronco Nagurski better be on that
Is
list.
Mike-
Dude, this one's off the top of the
Is
dome.
Mike Allsted?
You don't. Number 4 is Mike Allside.
No help, Tim.
Okay, sorry.
Number 3 is Brock Forsey.
Really?
Rex Burkhead.
Number 2, he doesn't run that hard.
I just gave you a couple.
Number 2 is I'm not gonna go Riggo. I'm gonna go Red Grange.
Oh, Red Grange, the Galloping Ghost. How about that?
Ooh, and number
that right?
1 Riggo. Oh, damn it! I
about
just ran
Zonk?
out of names. Zonk. Yeah, no Zonk. Zonk.
Harry Arms. Zonk.
Prieto.
5 top 5 fat rockers.
I wasn't even number 5. John Popper.
Yes.
Next, top 5 NFL players with hairy arms?
Kimbo Kemper.
That's a good one.
Number 4, Garo Yepremian. Number 4.
Carl Mecklenburg.
Number 3 is Martin Gramatica. Number 2 is Bill Gramatica. Ooh, I got to think about number 1.
What do you mean you got to think about it? These are top 5
This was
lists.
done on the fly.
These were not done on the fly.
You couldn't
guys
tell how
have all of
difficult
these-
this was for me when I went Martin and then Bill Gramatica.
You guys have all of these memorized. I need fat rockers as well. Chris Whittingham, are you putting together a list of hairy arms? Are you doing all of sports like Pete Sampras, or are you just doing?
I think
Sampras is excellent.
Yeah.
Wow.
Who's the Washington Capitals goalkeeper? At one point, he had a playoff beard that connected with his chest hair. It was just one long hair.
It's just like a mattress, like a welcome mat from his beard to his chest. It's like the hair. Like I've always wondered in 40-Year-Old Virgin if Steve Carell, when he gets Brazilian wax, that can't be his real. That has to be comedically how hairy they made him. He cannot be that hairy.
I believe it's real. I think that was his chest hair.
That can't be. It simply cannot be. That's not he just had a welcome mat that went from his neck to his belly button.
That scene is ridiculous. Oh, you're getting your chest waxed? Big effing whoop.
Sampras.
Jessica with the mic drop there.
Just like, okay, cry me a river.
We will get to Sunday's games in a second because it really is hard to fathom that you go from watching Stugotz in the Rams-Bucks game. You're watching. I'm thinking everyone's having the same reaction, right? Well, this game would be over if it weren't Brady. this game is over, right? Except for Brady. It's 27-3. They're missing field goals. They're settling for field goals. He's getting crushed, the offensive lineman. Obviously, it hurts to not have the offensive lineman. He's missing 3 of them. Brady's going to lose, right? But never doubt that Brady might do something, and then it starts happening. So that wasn't necessarily a great game from start to finish, and it wasn't even 2 great offenses for the second half of that game. It was one great offense, and the Rams then at the end all the storylines, Stugotz. Like, that was going to be the epic collapse. It was going to be us laughing at the Rams.
And Stafford, yeah. And it worked out well for him. I mean, Stafford had one of those career-defining moments with that throw to Cooper Kupp in a big spot against Tom Brady on the road. I mean, that's why they brought Matthew Stafford to the Rams. So
the Rams got so much yesterday that had been brought in for that game.
Yes.
That all of it, Jalen Ramsey.
I was thinking that as I was watching the game, yes.
All of it was like, you want to see us improve from losing 13-3 in the Super Bowl? You want to see what we do? Mm-hmm. We'll be the Statue of Liberty we'll just take them all. We'll grab Odell Beckham. All of them gave him something, and it took all of them to knock out Brady with a decimated, injured offensive line. 4 fumbles in the game from the Rams, and I actually looked it up, Stugotz, in those games where Tom Brady has gotten 4 turnovers from the other guys.
Right.
His record, 49-1.
Amazing.
He always wins that game.
He almost won that game.
He almost won that game yesterday with everyone fearing that was going to happen. And then it was somehow on top of that, the second game provided you both teams playing like that in the second half. It wasn't just Tom Brady relentlessly trying to come back, getting chance after chance from the Rams. But let me give you a stat of the day here, because I want to analyze this last game that we just saw.
Start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, it is your start of the day.
From the Buffalo News, Josh Allen had been 9-0 on coin tosses. It was the play of that game.
Do it when it counts.
That's right. Do it in the postseason.
Yep.
I understand why Bills fans are mad, and I will not throw too much shade on that. But I tell you, in a vacuum, for a coin flip, you have the chance that Patrick Mahomes never touches the ball. I know you just saw your quarterback go toe-to-toe for them, but I think a shocking amount of fans would be like, give me that coin flip. Let's go, Josh. Win this coin flip, and we can guarantee that Patrick Mahomes doesn't touch the ball. We'd actually sign up for that.
If there's a squib kick, there's no tossing of the coin.
This is the first time this next round of games, Stugotz, will not have Rodgers or Brady in him since 2009. First time, because that's one of the things you saw yesterday, right? Here come the young quarterbacks in the AFC.
Yep.
Here, the old guys are going to get pushed out. We've been watching this, right? It's Roethlisberger tumbles, it's Breeze tumbles. Brady eventually will tumble, but the young guys, you could tell, okay, here is where the changing of the guard could happen with the young quarterbacks in the AFC.
Yeah, you're seeing it. You saw it first with Mahomes a couple of years ago in the last 3 years, but now you're really starting to see it with some other guys. But Rodgers is still playing it at MVP. We're talking about the 2 best quarterbacks in the league still.
I'm not saying that it's done for them. I'm just saying that yesterday felt like seismically changing the sport. Yesterday feels like this is what it feels like at the height of greatness. As LeBron's on his Instagram begging you, put me in the conversation with MJ and Brady, because he sees it dissipating. He is in his Instagram, and they're showing him, Stugotz, he's showing himself on video in warm-ups, putting the ball through his legs and dunking, and he's saying to us, put me in the conversation, because he sees it fading away. He's still great, but his team is not.
You're presently in the conversation with the Minnesota Timberwolves, LeBron.
And he's telling you, he's shouting, hey, I'm still here. And now Brady and Rodgers, for this year at least, are not. It doesn't mean that they're done, but this is how you have to tear it away from the throne. Like, this is when you're talking about greatness that echoes across the eternities, best the position has ever been played. This is how all of that shape shifts, so that you realize you're in the presence of something that's going to echo a little bit on these stakes, that these stakes end up meaning something for legacies and everything else. But we have to get to top 5 hairiest arms, and we need to get to top 5 fat rockers.
Yeah, just say plus size, Dan. We're going to call this list heavy metal.
I thought because I was fat, I could call others fat.
Yep, I'm not telling you what to do. Number 5 is John Popper. Number 4 is one of my favorite bands, Chino Moreno from Deftones. Number 3 is Mama Cass. Number 2 is Meatloaf a Day. And number 1 is Elvis.
Oh, late game Elvis.
Did you guys know that Dumbo's last name was Jumbo?
Dumbo Jumbo?
Yeah, did you know that?
I did.
I learned that this weekend reading a book.
The elephant?
Yeah.
Lady Jumbo.
What other Dumbos do you think he was talking about?
It's a fair question.
Put it on the poll at LeBatard Show. Did you know that Dumbo's last name was Jumbo? I did not know that. Are you ready for top 5? Is this football or
is so
all of
exciting.
sports?
Well, you asked me to branch out, so I've gone for top 5 hairiest athletes.
Oh, just hairiest athletes. Now
Not
we're not
arms.
just doing like forearms. We're not doing arms. We're just doing hairiest.
I went for hairy athletes.
Okay, well, it's
Okay.
your list.
Well, presumably, if they're hairy, they have hairy arms.
Yeah.
Well, you said you saw the Storm, a basketball player, a
Just the
college
left.
basketball player. You said just the upper left part of
Yeah.
his arm.
Prieto.
Number 5, Whittingham.
Mohamed Salah.
Good one.
Number 4.
Andre Drummond.
Excellent.
For me, when you've got shoulder hair, that's another level of hair, man. Shoulder hair. I'm telling you. Thick.
Share.
I don't think I've ever seen shoulder hair.
Google a picture of Andre Drummond. He's got shoulder hair. It's unbelievable.
Number 3.
Pete Sampras.
Yes.
Jessica is going through her phone with a lot of diligence. Did
Wow.
you found an image search that reveals that Andre Drummond has hair growing on the top of his shoulders? It's like his shoulders have Don King hair.
Well, not only did I find one photo, but there's several photos for this image search result. So I think that tells you something too.
Number 2.
Washington Capitals goaltender Braden Holtby.
Wow.
Telling you, there's a post game press conference where his beard is in his is in his chest hair. It's an astounding image.
Is Salah the greatest hairy athlete ever?
Yeah, I think so.
You can't, because
he's the best hairy athlete currently playing in the world.
Wait, Pete Sampras.
I will underestimate you as an athlete if you are too hairy. Put it on the poll at LeBatard Show, Guillermo. Do you underestimate someone's athleticism if they're too hairy?
Federer is, man, I don't even know if Pete Sampras is the greatest hairy tennis player, because we have Roger Federer, who's pretty hairy.
He is. Sampras, I feel like
That's
Sampras.
a different level.
Yeah, it's a different level.
It was also a different time.
This makes me miss the old Bleacher Report days, because they probably would have had a top 25 hairiest athletes list, and instead I'm just doing it one-offs, whatever comes to
No,
mind. It's
I
tough.
don't think Bleacher Report has done it, because you'd find it. Stugotz is the king of finding some list
I
that
can't find
Bleacher
it.
Report
Yeah.
made in 2012.
We shamed Bleacher Report out of doing that, and they evolved and they've turned into a very powerful media company. But someone needs to fill the void left behind by slideshow website that can just give you a top 10 of every category that you could possibly think of.
I mean, our show is kind of doing that.
That's a good
Number
point.
1.
Burt Reynolds.
Oh, wow. Wow, excellent.
Well done.
Excellent.
Well done. I had Mackenzie to score the first touchdown, and he was a yard short.
But you also had Mahomes over rushing yards, and that hit on the first drive.
Yeah, that was a two-unit play, but everything to Davis, everything. Damn.
That Diggs 2-point conversion in hindsight after they go down the field.
Crazy.
That was a sick catch by Diggs.
Sick pass,
Well,
too.
sick pass as well. That's the other thing that Josh Allen does that makes it so hard. Just flips it sidearms when he's hard to tackle. I'm curious, though, with you guys, I understand that it's his second year in the league and that he's a big play receiver. But did you not think of the Bills before this playoff run started as they're going to Diggs, or they're going to Knox, or they're going to Cole Beasley, not 4 touchdowns, 201 yards. Did you think of Gabriel Evans this way?
No.
I've never thought of Gabriel Evans.
I never heard of Gabriel Evans.
Yeah, because that's not a real player. It's Gabriel Davis.
Fine.
My bad. Did you think of Gabriel Davis that way?
I've never heard of Gabriel Davis.
Dan, Gabriel Davis was on a very celebrated UCF football team of yours. Shame
I
on you.
mentioned that. It was a couple of years ago. No, I just got I've already talked about this guy. I just got his name wrong because I'm old there.
Apparently, he was very well touted in the preseason until Stephon Diggs became the number 1 target. He has been a pretty hyped up receiver for the Bills, according to Marcel Louis-Jacques, who used to be like the Bills beat reporter for ESPN.
Diggs and Knox had 5 catches for 16 yards. It's absurd. I mean, it was all him. You had Beasley with 6 catches for 60, and then Davis did the rest.
Do you know how hard it is for a couple of things to happen here that happened? This weekend had enormous expectations after last weekend was a disappointment that made us obsess over Dak Prescott and 14 seconds and a whistle in the Bengals game. But it was not football that we enjoyed, and yet we were saying, but next weekend, wait until these divisional matchups, because all the teams are good and we know they're good. Do you know how hard it is to go into that weekend and have it exceed your expectations? Because every game is decided with 4 seconds left, and then the last of them is amazing. And do you know how good a football game has to be for the immediate reaction to be, change the rules? I want more football. The rules are unfair. Like, that doesn't happen where it's just immediate. That game, that special football game where you get fireworks galore, nobody wanted it to end, and it's like, that's not fair. It shouldn't end like that. Change the rules. Change. After that weekend, to be talking about rule changes, and it's not Dez Bryant rule change. Was it a catch? I don't know what a catch is. It's not a whistle. It's not a referee. It's not where was the ball spotted. There was a half yard in that Titans-Bengals game where I don't even know how the refs were able to spot it that well, given how big those people are moving, and they go to instant replay and they move it forward 3 inches.
Falcons fans have been saying this since Super Bowl 51 when the Patriots came back 28-3. We all remember, and then the Patriots won the toss, went down the field, scored a touchdown, game over.
Well, the Chiefs went out this way in one of their playoff runs to the Patriots. It was, overtime, and you have them with a chance to go and win that game. Brady wins the coin toss, and they go and win the game.
And it forced them to do what they could to try to get a rule change, and it wasn't even heard. So the Kansas City Chiefs won a game in which the other team didn't get to touch the ball. They were a proponent of a rule change that would see both teams touch the ball in overtime, no matter what happened in the first possession.
Don't you guys like the walk-off element of it, though?
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I honestly do.
I do.
Like, if I understand, like, leaving the fate up to a coin toss is probably archaic, so find some cool, like, football-y way to give a team, to reward a team for regulation, whether it be total yards or something. That way all sides of the ball have, like, some sort of say in it.
Can we change it just for the playoffs, maybe, for the postseason, to be able to give both offenses the ball before the game ends?
The specific clamoring is not just, we want more of this. It's specifically that Josh Allen deserved the chance to go again.
Right.
The fact that the game is completely taken out of his hands when in the last 2 minutes he engineers that drive, when he did so much in that game, like, he deserves an opportunity to respond.
He deserved a squib kick.
But defense is part of the game. Like, this isn't just Mahomes versus Allen. I know that's what we want it to be, but make a stop.
Yeah, we can't just disregard the conversation entirely because they had a win And all they had to do was
what
stop them from doing what they did in 13 seconds.
What happened was it would be like a pitcher pitching a perfect game and still losing. You felt bad for Josh Allen last night. He pitched a perfect game and he still lost. Sports. Football.
Sports. I felt bad for Patrick Mahomes when he didn't get to touch the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. It goes to a coin flip this time. Oh, shit. Yeah. Just make it total yards, and that way you don't get to complain about a quarter.
That's how the salted cookie crumbles. Am I right, boys?
Yep.
Yeah.
You are right.
Very good cookies.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I love about Chris Cody's correct take of make a stop. It's the same thing that I was yelling on 4th and long as Gabriel, the aforementioned Gabriel Davis, who is not Gabriel Evans, is wide open in the end zone. And I'm like, make a stop. How is that possible? And then they show the replay. And he broke the defensive half in half on the route.
That's who I felt bad for, that DB in that spot.
But broke him in half. Like, how is he that open? Oh, that's how he's that open. The guy just snapped in half, and he was just a torso at the 11-yard line.
Give Tommy Townsend his flowers right now. A legendary holder for the Chiefs.
All right, let's talk about this for a second because it gets drowned.
It's a bad snap.
Let's talk about this for a second.
He's their punter, correct?
I guess. In my defense, I've never seen the Chiefs punt.
Let's talk about this for a second because in the avalanche of, again, I didn't tune into the game till 23-21. What did I miss? Nothing anyone's analyzing today. Nothing. 23-21 does not matter.
You jumped in at the exact right time.
Doesn't matter. Just give me what's happening in the final seconds. We'll break it down. And then in Bills at Chiefs, it's everything's happening in the final seconds. There's Tyreek Hill running 70 yards. Everybody, everybody. There's Gabriel Davis in the end zone. It's just great deal of fun.
When the Bills scored the first time, you were saying to yourselves, he left too much time for Patrick Mahomes. Then when Mahomes scored with Tyreek Hill, you're like, too much time for Josh Allen. I don't think anyone said too much time for Patrick Mahomes after Allen scored
seconds.
again.
That had to be the game is over. I think you said Jessica. Jessica's claiming too much time.
I said it. I said
Publicly,
it 3 times. I said the first
in your
touchdown, too
house?
much time. I tweeted this, Dan.
Because he had 3 timeouts.
And then I said too
Right.
much time, and then
Maybe.
too much time again with 13 seconds. And then the Chiefs, when they kicked the field goal, there was almost 1 second still on the clock. That would have been too much time for Josh Allen.
Why are you talking that fast? Is that the
I just have 4 cafecitos, Dan.
Okay.
I mean,
And you snorted the football week.
And a cookie for breakfast.
This is a funny thing, though, that I guess I'm going to beat this dead horse here.
Tommy Townsend?
I'm just marveling at what these people can do with 13 seconds, with 40 seconds, with everything's too much time, given the way these guys are playing. Stafford, the way that offenses are.
well, those two guys.
But everything is too much time. Come on, Stugotz. You wouldn't have said Stafford was too much time. You would have said Brady in that game was the too much time guy, not Stafford.
You're right.
I mean, 40 seconds left. There wasn't, but everything in that game is now. You give Garoppolo too much time. Like, they can all do it in 40 seconds.
Yeah.
But let's talk about somebody that no one is talking about today because they get drowned under quarterback play, under too much time. How about the holder? If that snap had gone wrong, do you realize how much? I still think about that giant snap in a playoff game. Some poor long snapper that we'd never thought about before that had a bad snap in that game. You take for granted that these guys are going to snap well in those circumstances, and there's not going to be a botching that ends up being something on Tony Romo's resume because he's a choker as a holder, because he loses a playoff game, because he can't handle a good snap on what was like an extra point-length field goal against Seattle.
Trey Junkin.
Oh, yes.
I thought we'd hear him in the top 5 hairiest athletes. I honestly did.
The long snapper for the Giants, that year. We learned his name. He was in shame in the locker room. Mike, let's analyze for a second. Is anyone talking about
Trey Junkin? Not in a decade. I found a 2012 article that says the snap still jolts me out of my sleep.
Really?
Yeah, Trey Junkin tried to retire to a kind life of just peacefully hunting for ducks. But still, every now and then, he's jolted out of his sleep by this bad snap in a playoff game against the Niners.
The Chiefs, if the competence of their snap had been the decision on the season and not those 13 seconds, we would have known that long snapper's name. That guy needs to buy his holder a home.
Really?
Yes. Not a watch.
A house?
A home. Yes. A home.
If he misses that field goal, then people are trying to change football again. That shouldn't come down to Butker. That ruined football. Let's change it. No more field goals. They would, because I would have felt so bad for that kicker. For the holder. Oh, imagine his off season if he blew that.
What are you trying to say?
The holder or the long snapper? Who are you talking about?
I'm saying the snap was
and
the
the
worst part.
No, I'm saying the long snapper. If that gets messed up,
If it gets
like
botched.
his off season is just ruined because you have one job.
Well,
Right.
precisely. Trey Junkin feels like his career has been blackballed because of this bad snap.
He's woken. You just said with a start in the middle of the night is what you said.
Yeah, he wakes up occasionally with a jolt out of his sleep,
Haunted.
remembering
Yeah.
haunted by his bad snap.
Yeah.
So are you saying like we'd be doing the show today about James Winchester?
Yes.
That's the Chiefs long
Yes.
snapper.
Yes.
Yes,
Here-
for ruining our fun at the end of the game. We're going to move it, right? It's going to be pity for Josh Allen. We're going to find the place to blame the loser at the end, right? And then if we don't have one, like in Chiefs Bills, change the rules.
Oh, no, we have one.
We're going.
Squib kick.
Okay. All right. We will find the place to blame. Fine. And those are the conversations today at the end of that game. As we put a microscope, they take these last seconds of these games with these enormous stakes and just put a microscope on them. Dak Prescott in 14 seconds, echoing Mike McCarthy laughing stock in 14 seconds. Chiefs rectify it, but almost didn't rectify it because their long snapper was headed toward a hell that was going to haunt him 10 years from now.
Just like Trey Junkin, who went on a 3-day bender in New Orleans following the loss, says he only remembers one day of it. He actually met his wife. So that's a nice little story there. But he also says he's been blackballed by the NFL. He says, quote, "I don't know whose cornflakes I pissed in."
Everything happens for a reason. I mean, met his wife. It's a positive, right?
Yeah. He's like, "I don't know whose cornflakes I pissed in, but I do think that snap has everything to do
Can we
with it."
try to get him?
I want to have
Trey
him
Junkin?
on. I do, yeah.
I want to talk to him because that seems like the
You
place.
think he wants to talk to
that
us?
seems like a good place to go on the greatest football weekend any of us have ever seen. Let's
Trey
see if
Junkin.
we can find a guy who blew a snap 10 years ago to have him compliment our podcast hour that has top 5 hairiest arms on it.
You want to feel old? Trey Junkin is now 61 years old.
That's impossible, Mike.
No.
Was he 47 when he
Yes.
snapped that ball?
Yes.
No.
Mike, it's
No,
impossible.
You're
that's
not familiar with
Mike.
the Trey Junkin storyline. Is he was regarded as the greatest long snapper, and he stepped away from the game. But the Giants called him in for
Pulled
one
him
last
back.
score. Come back
last
for
snap.
I remember
Yeah.
all of this. It's all coming back to me
It is.
now, although his name didn't.
Trey Junkin was called in for one last job, and it'll never be the same again. 61 years old now.
Wow.
If we go through the coverage that will be wall to wall on every network today and get huge, giant ratings, will we be finding people talking about the great job someone did holding at a terrible long snap? Can we find in the combing over every second that we do of all of this sport, will we find anyone praising the holder on that beautiful game could have ended not unlike that snap that went over Stafford's, or the snap that Stafford wasn't expecting, where you're like, you guys are at the 30-yard line. You can end the game right now if you don't snap the ball whizzing past Stafford's head.
Brady did that. He did.
Yeah, with the magical mysticism from the sidelines. That's right. With his eyes. Put it on the poll, please, Guillermo LeBatard show. Did Brady cause the Stafford bad snap over his head with his eyes?
I love the slow motion replay of Stafford reacting to the snap as it's like passing by
Terror.
his hand. Slow mo, he's
Terror.
like,
No, it's total, because this is what's happening. Because of course, imagine his broken 37-year-old body. That is whizzed past me at way too high a speed. And who's behind me? Oh my God, it's Indomitian.
Sue does not like Stafford, man.
After what he told him earlier in the game, that is a life decision you are
You're
making.
telling me I have my back down to Indomitian. I'm running the other way. We both want the same piece of meat. Oh God, no! He shit
decade-
himself. Stafford shit himself running after that football.
A decade of Lions resentment was chasing after him.
You guys are telling me that game almost ended with the ball just dribbling 30 yards downfield because a holder couldn't get it down. And in the freezing cold, where I just imagine that on occasion it's a little harder to grab a football.
Or snap a football.
I saw that play, and I'm like, that's why they practice. It's just muscle memory. Because if you saw, it's a split second that this holder has to do 3 jobs. Catch, spin, place.
Mike, I marvel all the time. It's still, after 30 years watching it, the first basemen, how good they are at scooping a ball out of the dirt. Marvel at it all the time. And of course, those guys are practicing. That's their only job. That dude gets hundreds of thousands of dollars in a lot of instances to be called in for one last job as a 47-year-old because it's such a specialized skill. And you only notice that you don't have it in the rare instances when it all goes to hell at the end of a game.
It's not sexy, but coaching matters. We saw how poorly Mike McCarthy's team handled itself in a similar situation. And I know it's easier when you have Patrick Mahomes, but Dak Prescott's a good quarterback. You should be prepared to hand the ball to the official. Did you see the Chiefs in that instance? A lineman touched it, an official came up, he placed it, held it out for him, tapped it, snap and go. Their execution in that final 13 seconds was incredible. The preparation that goes into that, it's just a well-coached team, and it's not sexy because I know Pat Mahomes does his thing and Josh Allen is doing his thing, but from the holder to the coaching to what they do in practices dating back to July, it all matters.
It was Stafford, by the way, who did the thing where they handed it to the official. That was after the bomb to Cup because the Chiefs had timeouts. It was Stafford. But I feel like that's a mistake that's not getting made for 5 years. Like once that Cowboys thing happens, it's just in your mind. Like everyone's going to hand the ball to the umpire. They know now, right?
That and the squib kick, yeah.
You say that, Whittingham, but I keep thinking that Deshaun Jackson flipped the ball before the goal line's not going to happen anymore.
And it happens.
Every year somebody ends up doing it.
I'm surprised every time there is video of NFL Films wired up guy. Wow, I didn't even know there could be ties. Yeah. It just you would think. There have been so many ties recently, you would think someone coming into the NFL would be aware that you would have eliminated all the people that had no idea that you could tie in the NFL by now.
And each and every one is so important. By the way, Doug Minkiewicz, best first base scooper of all time, is
Incredible.
he not? Incredible.
Derek Lee.
I have a top 5.
Derek Lee, Anthony Rizzo would like a shout.
Man, Minkiewicz was great in his day.
Andres Galarraga, can you guys
big cat.
Can you guys please text Tim Kurkjian at LeBatard Show and give him tell not at LeBatard Show, just text Tim Kurkjian please and find out for us who the top 5 scoopers at first base are in the history of baseball.
He's going to say Casey Kochman. I guarantee you Casey Kochman is in his top 5. Guarantee. It's a lock.
Okay.
Okay.
Why
do I care so much?
You're very excited
and Kevin
about
Youkilis,
this.
Yuki.
Okay, you're very unusually excited about this.
The Greek god of walks. I mean,
You have gotten to fire off so many old names today. Zonka, Nagurski, like you have just been.
Nagurski was robbed.
You have just been firing in every direction.
Lyle Alzado went throughout.
Every name from the 60s. That was off air. That wasn't even on air. You were lamenting off air that Lyle Alzado wasn't on the list of hairiest athletes.
I imagine when Tim Kurkjian reads my text, it's like what we like when we're sexting. Like that's what he's like. The way he's like, "Oh, honey, leave me alone for a few minutes. I got to think about something." Like
First
he
base
loves
scoopers.
It. Oh, he loves it.
Can you elaborate on the sexting?
The weird, like the phrasing of it was weird. Like when
Yeah.
we're sexting.
Who were you
like, said that
sexting
to
in this
Stugotz and
scenario?
Dan.
What were you talking about there? I don't even understand what you were
I'm
going
saying
for.
the way like you
I
get
get
excited.
it. I get
Dan, the way if your wife ever talks dirty to you,
I see.
that's
This
the
is the
way
same,
he
right.
gets-
You know,
First
my
base
bad.
scoopers,
My
right.
bad. I thought you were saying something different. My fault.
You're trying to say that this is a sext to Tim Kurkjian.
The equivalent.
which
Might
is what
as well
I think
be.
I said.
'Cause
Yeah,
no,
might
you
as well
said
be.
when we're sexting. Oh,
That's what I
the
thought.
we
I
was
thought
the weird
that's
part.
what confused me.
Like I meant as a group when we do our group sexting. Like,
Yeah.
are we all pretending now we don't talk about this on air? That we have a group sext?
What?
Are we on air?
David Segui better be in his top 5. He has to be in his top 5.
You're gonna cut that, right?
God could scoop. I mean,
David Segui was good at scooping balls out of the dirt. I can't even dispute what Stugotz is saying there.
You got to be hard charging when you hug that line. A hard charging first baseman. That's what I like.
You do?
Yeah.
Well,
if we were doing like a dating service, like a Match.com, and I had applied filters to it,
Yes.
I need a hard charging first baseman.
You know who charged hard? Darren Erstedt.
Really did.
Yes.
Really did.
put it on the poll, Guillermo, please. Do you need a hard charging first baseman? This is not where I thought we would end up today after
Just
that.
plant and go.
I left out Steve Garvey. Garves. He could also be top 5 hairiest athletes of all time. I'm telling you.
Oh, Garvey's a good one on the
Yes.
forearms. Steve Garvey, you're absolutely right. Very masculine, hairy forearms, just like shrubbery growing on his forearms. Mike, why are you feuding with the Arkansas fan base? What's happening with you and the Arkansas fan base?
All right. So I reported, Brett McMurphy reported earlier last week that Kendall Briles was offered the Miami job. And I did my thing where I'm not really a reporter on this, but I clarified misinformation, which Brett McMurphy, who is a reputable reporter, but when it comes to Miami, he's been used by other sides before. He did with the Eddie Nunez thing, and that was when Miami's a mess narrative came out. He reported that. Wasn't true. I know this to be true. People think that I'm being fed stuff from Miami. I will tell you that when I was breaking Mario Cristobal stuff, I wasn't hearing from school sources until very late in the game. I am pretty plugged in on this stuff, and I heard from multiple sources that Miami had one active offer. While I may have alluded to this on the show as it was happening, I didn't mention who that offer was to. It was to the Toledo head coach, Jason Candle. Kendall Briles and his representation really pressed the University of Miami for an offer. They never got it. They used the public leverage. This is a move. This is not unseen. This is literally the move. Hundreds of coaches do this. But for whatever reason, after Kendall Briles signs the extension with Arkansas, Arkansas fans really want to believe that Miami offered Kendall Briles this job. And if it were true, I'd say it. I see no shame in that. But it wasn't so. Kendall Briles didn't exactly deny it, but he's putting out like the messaging that no, they wanted me. It's not true, Kendall. It's not. You're being misleading. I understand it, but if you think a CAA client took less than the highest paid offensive coordinator position in the nation in Miami to go back on the cheap to Arkansas, you're dumber than you look, and plenty of you look plenty dumb.
Oh, that's where you cross the line.
No,
come on, Mike.
No,
come on,
you're
Mike.
dumber than you look. That it's just a reality of the situation. I'll put my integrity up next to Kendall Briles any day. He was not offered the job. Wasn't offered the job.
4 separate reporters texted me last week and were like, what the hell's going on with Mike Ryan right now? And I blocked them. I like my job, Dan.
Sports Illustrated reported.
No. See, SI has become SB Nation now. No, an Arkansas subdivision fan page reported this. This wasn't chatter in the national ranks. This is people see SI, and that's how you get fake news. This is how my 60-something-year-old peepaw all of a sudden says there's going to be martial law. That's how that happens.
He's right. There's this Fan Nation sites now that are they're owned by Sports Illustrated. So people sometimes will cite them as Sports Illustrated, but it's not like a Sports Illustrated national reporter reporting something. It's like one of the fan sites, and some of them are like actual reporters and are well sourced, but it's not the same editorial process as if it was in Sports Illustrated.
Look, he wasn't offered the job. Was he in conversation? Yes. I don't know where he ranked in terms of their priorities. I just know it was certainly behind Jason Candle, who turned the job down. I have no problem admitting that.
People think you're being a homer, and what's happening here is Razorback fans are being homers because they want to believe that they withstood a raid that is it's the genesis of how CAA and these coaches keep getting bigger and better offers. And it is really out of the playbook of dirty 101 in college football or just college sports, right? Where you just keep your name in the news by any means necessary, even if it's not the truth.
I kept asking myself, why is it so important to this fan base that Miami offered Kendall Briles the job in a formal fashion? And why am I lying when I say that they didn't? It's because, for as much as they complain about Miami's irrelevancy in my mentions, borrowing some of that legacy, that tradition, that national shine that a program like Miami has makes them feel better about themselves because of where they live, which I actually Googled over the weekend is not Little Rock. I thought it was Little Rock this whole time. It's Fayetteville. Did you know this? Most people don't. Most people don't know that those people are toiling away in Fayetteville. I thought they were toiling away in Little Rock.
They play in 2 different stadiums, right? They play in the Fayetteville Stadium and in the Little Rock Stadium.
Get out of here.
They have like 2 homes, I think.
What? No idea.
You are really going after this fan base.
No. The fan base was going after me, and it becomes a he said, and I'm not going to sway in
How
Arkansas.
is everyone always starting fights with you,
Right.
and not the other way around?
What? How did I start a fight? I just said he wasn't offered the job. Like, it was just to clear up misinformation.
Right.
And then my mentions are complete tire fire.
But
from,
you know when you do that, you're going to upset somebody, right? Like you're picking a fight.
No
How
one
am I-
gets in more Twitter fights on this show than you do.
How am I? Check Roy Belly. All right. At Roy Belly, everybody. No, this is someone. This is a fan base. And not very reputable reporters. There was only one McMurphy that came out with that report. You'll notice that some of the top guys stayed away from that story entirely because they didn't want to get played by agents. It just wasn't true. I'm not looking to dunk on you, but if you're going to run stories about how you're dunking on me to get shine, I'm going to tell you what's up. He wanted to be here badly. It wasn't a fit. Mario doesn't want to play at that tempo, and he favored other people over him. I'm sorry. You can have several candidates. I imagine Kendall Briles was one of them. They pushed for an offer they never got, and he played the public game, and he obviously swayed you. It worked with you because you're buying it hook, line, and sinker. Why is this important? You kept your coach at an apparent discount to stay in Fayetteville or Little Rock or wherever they play between the 2 stadiums.
Your mentions look pretty nasty, Mike. I'd still contend that I'd rather have Arkansas fans mad at me than see asterisks.
What was that phrase? I'd like to put it on the poll. There was something about shine and dunking on you, and there was all of it. You get very fired up about this.
Well, I get fired up when people call my credibility into question. When Kendall Briles did that, because he got in my mentions and he told some fan account who leaked a DM, by the way, very poor form. I reached out to this fan. I'm like, hey, Kendall's playing you a little bit. I can provide you more details if you like, if you wanted to hear another side of the story. He didn't. And Kendall's like, yeah, get better info. Kendall, you didn't get the job offer. You made one up. Your representation really pushed for one. You overplayed your hand. And the second that was made public, you kind of got yourself out of that job running. If it becomes he said, I'm not going to win with Arkansas. But with neutrals, Kendall Briles and all the integrity that last name has, I'll sack my name up to that any day of the week. I'm not wrong here. I know for a fact how this went down.
Did you call me your peepaw for thinking that it was Sports Illustrated instead of a fan board because it did say SI.com, and I bought in on SI.com reporting that you were feuding with the Arkansas fan base?
Yeah, a lot of people did. My dad did. He's like, I saw on Sports Illustrated. What is this with... And my dad always comes to me when I'm so burnt out and over something. He's like, why are you fighting with, I'm on a FaceTime, no less. I'm like, Dad, just get out of here.
Sports Illustrated, though, I know they're selling, aren't they selling vitamins and stuff? They've tarnished the brand name by selling all sorts of things with the brand name and diluting the brand name. But I am ashamed to say that I am your journalistic peepaw if I am still buying into Sports Illustrated being the same kind of credible they were once upon a time.
But vitamins?
They were selling something like that, some vitamin.
I love that you said vitamins through phlegm.
Yes, that was great. So unhealthy. So unhealthy.
But the downfall, I think, started right around when Jess left.
He's got a point. Sports Illustrated, I should add, finally came to an agreement with the Sports Illustrated union, and now they have a union contract. So maybe there won't be brain pills on sale in the future. Who's to say?
But it still makes me peepaw.
Well, to defend you, it is very misleading that it says Sports Illustrated in the domain, but it's not run through the same editorial process as the actual Sports Illustrated website.
Just in closing, okay? Just
There's
in
more?
closing.
Still, there's more.
Really?
In closing,
Jesus.
if you think a nomadic offensive coordinator with red flags who is repped by Jimmy Sexton took less to stay in Arkansas instead of being the highest paid offensive coordinator in college football or top 2, We'll see where that lands. And move to Miami and coach this quarterback down here. If you think a Jimmy Sexton client did that, you're a dumb person. You're just dumb.
Nobody knows who Jimmy Sexton is, though. It's like an inside thing.
No. Arkansas fans and college football fans know exactly who Jimmy Sexton is. If you think a Jimmy Sexton client took less money, full stop, you're kidding yourself.
Billy, why are you rolling your eyes?
I'm just seeing what's going on around here. There's a lot going on here today.
It's confusing.
Yeah, I'm trying to catch up.
Also-
SI, though, they struck a deal.
Also from Little Rock, Trey Junkin.
Oh, really? Tie it all together.
Are we going to get him on? You don't think he wants to
Working
talk
on
to
it.
us about the thing that jolts him up at night?
Why would Trey Junkin want to revisit that?
I mean, he did for, was it Bleacher Report? Was it SI.com? Was it on the side of a vitamin bottle? Like we were reading from an article from 10 years ago where we're learning about the perils of the long snap, Stugotz. Are you not amazed that that doesn't happen more? Shouldn't it happen more? Shouldn't somebody screw up that? Because if any of us were in that position, you'd see the urine dripping down our leg and ending up in our cleats if we had to do that. If the strain on it was there are 13 seconds left in Patrick Mahomes' season, I've got to get down the field and save everything that's happening here. Nobody on this team thinks I'm a real football player. I look at the world upside down through my legs and I send the ball hurtling behind me for 7 yards. It's not anything to do with football. It's my only job. I'm not on special teams in any other way. No one expects me to make the tackle. I'm just snapping the ball
They
7
just
yards.
expect me to make this snap.
I've got vertigo. My life is upside down. I'm always looking. When I talk to my wife, I'm most comfortable looking between my legs to talk to her because I spend my entire life.
Hell yeah.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Weekend observations brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste, 96 calories, available for delivery. Dan, we mocked him and his appearance in 2017. While as head coach, he led the New York Giants to a 2-10 record. He was fired after just 28 games at a place where no one gets fired. He went away for a while and quietly came back in 2020 as the Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback coach, where he was fired after just one season. He spent last season consulting the Cowboys on how to lose. But Dan, for reasons only they will ever know, the Carolina Panthers looked at that resume and said to themselves, that's our guy. That's our next offensive coordinator. And Dan, just like that, Ben McAdoo is back.
Yes.
The G-Men, the Jags, OC. Speaking of back, hello, Grayson Allen.
Oh,
You see that one?
Yes.
You got a game.
Suspended for a game for injuring Caruso. One game.
Markieff Morris still isn't back.
Really?
Yeah. You alluded to him faking it.
I did.
That was as dirty as you'll see in that sport.
The Grayson Allen.
Yes.
He got one game. That guy's out 6 to 8 weeks. It's pretty bad. Dan, I know you, and I'm begging you. Don't think about it. Certainly don't say it. I care about you. You thought about it over the weekend, didn't you?
Thought about what?
Brady was done.
He made us think about it with that strategic leak that you think is just to keep Byron Leftwich there.
It'd be a good play, right? Leverage play?
Here's my prediction.
Maybe he doesn't like Arians.
I think it's far more likely that Aaron Rodgers retires than Tom Brady does.
Wow.
Is that a Mike Ryan exclusive?
Give yourself a beep or
No,
something.
I'm just like talking shit. That was a sports radio topic. Just wanted to say it.
It's been said.
That loss may have been Tom Brady's greatest victory ever.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Was that loss Tom Brady's greatest victory?
Hugh Freeze went 35-19 at Mississippi with Dawson Knox, DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown. He should never coach again.
I thought you were telling Dan that he was freezing something. It is cold here.
It is cold. We all broke out our winter gear, but the rest of the country is suffering a lot more than us. We dipped into the low 50s today, and all of us went into parts of our closet that we haven't been in 5 years.
It's 46. There's iguanas falling out of the sky.
I started my car minutes before I got into the car. How about that?
He did. Stugotz came in here and said he turned on the heaters in his car for the first time in several years.
My only regret is that this didn't happen on a Greg Cody Tuesday, because I would have loved to have seen what Greg Cody found in his closet for a day like today.
It's going to be just as cold tomorrow now.
Mid-50s.
High of 74, it says.
Slaps different when it dips into the 40s.
How about that, though? Dawson Knox, DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown, 35 and 19.
Well, that's why Liberty just gave him $4 million a year, though. He could go get those guys if you're willing to compromise your every moral.
You just can't win with them. Weather, stakes, none of it matters. The Tennessee Titans play that game every week. Dan, we lost a hockey legend over the weekend, Clark Gillies. If you looked at Mike Bossy, funny, at any time during the 1980s, Clark Gillies would beat the living shit out of you.
That's true.
Yep. Don't believe me? Ask Dave Schultz or Terry O'Reilly.
It's true.
They know.
They do.
Rest in peace, Clark. You are family, entrenched on my top 5 New York Islanders of all time list.
Family?
Did you misread firmly?
I did.
I thought it was weird that
thought you had a
Clark
deep
Gillies
dive.
would
He
be,
feels like
would
family.
be, would
He
be
does-
You are
family.
family,
Listen,
brother.
I live 20 minutes from the Coliseum,
Oh,
and that
stop.
entire team
Oh,
felt like it was
stop.
my family.
It was firmly. It was just firmly.
Number 5.
You read it wrong. Number 5 firmlies? Number 5 families? What is this? Number 5 Islanders.
These are my 5 greatest Islanders of all time. The Isles. Number 5, John Tonelli. Greatest assist in the history of hockey. Tonelli to Nystrom. Flyers. First Stanley Cup. Heart and soul. Number 4, Bobby Nystrom. Bobby Nye. He received that pass from John Tonelli. And what did he do, Dan? He put it in the back of the net, and we won a Stanley Cup. Bobby Nye. No helmet, by the way. Number 3, Mike Bossy. Boss. Number 2, Clark Gillies. Protected Mike Bossy. Also gave you 30, 35 goals. How about that? And number 1, Bill Smith. Smitty. I named my cat after him. He died. My cat.
Isn't it Billy Smith? Did they not call him Billy, or they call him Bill Smith? I'm asking genuinely. I'm not correcting
Bill
you.
Smith, Billy Smith, Smitty. I named my cat Smitty. He died. By the way, Clark Gillies was born in Moose Jaw, Canada. Dan, you know what you do if your name is Clark Gillies and you were born in a place called Moose Jaw, Canada?
You protect Mike Bossy.
You play hockey and protect Mike Bossy. Good job out of you. Textbook Titans game. You know what the T in Titans stands for? Textbook. The Bengals should use their next 10 draft
didn't
picks.
you just said that?
Gave,
Like,
it's not really
you
a
gave-
riddle, though. It's hard
I
to
gave it
grasp.
away.
It's, yeah, if you
My bad. The Bengals should use their next 10 draft picks on offensive linemen. If you want to know,
Guillermo, put it on the poll, please. Should the Bengals use their next 10 draft picks on offensive linemen?
what did you?
Yeah, it sounds good.
50% clip, you're fine.
Trade for them, free agents, stack them on top of each other's shirt.
Because that receiver's enough.
I got it. Stugotz, you've made clear why it is that they
glad
would
you
need
agreed. You're right. You never do.
The receiver and the quarterback, they're good. Protect them.
Yeah. If you want to know what a Tennessee Titan game looks like, it looks like Saturday. If you want to know what football looks like, it looks like Saturday night, Lambeau Field, fourth quarter with the snow coming down. Dan, that's football. The big winner in the Titans-Bengals game was Mike Vrabel's penis.
Put it on the poll, please, at LeBatard Show, Guillermo. Was the big winner, big winner,
Is that what he calls it?
big winner in the Titans-Bengals game, Vrabel's penis.
The Tennessee Titans are a quarterback away. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, the Titans would be in the mix. Joe Burrow and McPherson hugging was the whitest moment in television history since Golick and Wingo. McPherson telling Joe Burrow, it looks like we're headed to the AFC Championship game before nailing the game-winning field goal. Goosebumps, if it's true. If it's not, who cares?
Yeah, it's true. You know what? You're right about that. You're right. Doesn't even matter if it's true or not.
Dan?
Should be true.
How is their kicker cockier than their quarterback?
It's amazing.
Well, I think the quarterback likes to tell cocky stories on behalf of everybody.
He just loves cocky stories.
I think that's what's happening there. Burrow every week. I think he might be trolling us for as long as they win. He's going to say that some offensive lineman who catches a thick six or something, some defensive lineman. I think he's going to say, yeah, he told me right before that. He called timeout, came to me on the sideline, told me he was going to do that.
Dan, you can't say me and Billy didn't try to tell you. He tanked. The G in Green Bay stands for goodbye. Sean Payton, Dallas Cowboys, collision course.
Does it stand for goodbye? Because I believe that you had the take that Aaron Rodgers is never leaving Green Bay. Is it because you thought he was going to win the title and then not leave?
That was a couple of weeks ago. Last week, the take was the Niners-Packers game was for everything. And by everything, I mean you win, you move on, and you get Aaron Rodgers. That's everything.
Okay.
Shanahan won everything.
That is everything.
You've got Sean Payton leveraging another football job, but he might be in on this commentary game with Amazon getting Thursday Night Football. It seems as though Aikman and Peyton are all kind of leveraging playing musical chairs with Fox and Amazon.
Game's about to change, man. The streaming services want in on football, and they are going to spend a lot of money to get in on football.
I mean, how many people watched the game last night? Did we get a rating yet?
I'm going to say all of them.
Everyone.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. How many people watched the game last night, and then just put the answer, all of them, and don't give any other options.
The B in Joe Burrow stands for balls and Brady. With KD out, Kyrie Irving should get the shot. He turned the whole thing around and become a savior hero. Plus, instead of one, he'd have two of the greatest shots in NBA history. How about that? Aaron Rodgers said he had a tough decision to make regarding his future. You know what the T in tough decision stands for, Dan?
Oh, for the love of God.
Tanking. Matt LaFleur do it in the postseason. The San Francisco 49ers, quarterback away, can't believe Tom Brady is a better option on 4th and inches than Derrick Henry. Amazing. Derrick Henry, he can't get inches. That's not what he does. He doesn't like inches. He likes feet, yards.
Inches go into that, though.
I guess so. You can't gain a yard without gaining an inch.
But he doesn't like the inches. That's not the part of the equation he's interested in. I'm with you. He likes yards. Today, though, his feet hurt because he's got screws and metal in them.
If the other team makes Tom Brady's mouth bleed, it should be an automatic touchdown for the Buccaneers. Steph Curry hit his first game winner over the weekend of his career. You know what the C in Curry stands for? Not clutch. Tom Brady, Green Bay Packers, collision course. Tom Brady, do it in the postseason. I guess Matthew Stafford is tall enough to see Odell Beckham Jr. Tom Brady willed that field goal to fall short to keep the lead at 14 points. Matt Gay, revenge game. Los Angeles Rams, the rare win when it seemed like you were trying to lose. We went from Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady to Matthew Stafford versus Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy G, Tampa Bay Bucks, too little, too late. The buck doesn't stop here anymore, Dan. It stops at Aaron Donald. That guy's good.
Yeah.
Divisional round. You were everything the Super Wild Card weekend wasn't. Thank you. I haven't confirmed yet, but hearing Mike Vrabel was upset with Ryan Tannehill. Not for losing the game, but from keeping Vrabel away from his beloved overtime. OT. Vrabes. If overtime was a person, Mike Vrabel would marry it. Hey, Tom. Bill Belichick would have told Fournette not to score. New Brady Belichick credit pie chart, Dan.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Yes.
99% Tom Brady, 1% Bill Belichick. Big day for Bill.
Yeah.
I mean, he climbed up 0.6% from last week.
Big news.
Plus, Jimmy G won. What a day for Belichick. Oh, my God. Jason Tatum, the rare 50 burger with a side of no one was paying attention. Who the hell is Gabriel Davis? Speaking of hell, Art Briles. Dan, those are the weekend observations.
Guillermo, put it on the poll, please, at LeBatard Show. If you make Brady's mouth bleed, should the Bucks get 7 points or should you get 7 points? It's a good question. And also, let me just, because you brought up our beloved Ben McAdoo,
Yes.
I have to do this.
Okay.
Does Ben McAdoo look like a pirate from an off-strip Vegas show circa 1996? Does Ben McAdoo look like the manager of a struggling hot tub outlet store? Does Ben McAdoo look like divorce?
Yes.
Does Ben McAdoo look like your friend who hates the NBA for being soft and not playing defense like they did when Bird played? Does Ben McAdoo look like the guy who has taken it upon himself to keep the condo pool free of leaves? Does he look like an ESPN Classic bowler? Does he look like the guy who married the hottest girl in high school 20 years later and takes care of her 6 kids while she's out at the bar with her ex, Doug Peterson?
That's wrong.
Does Ben McAdoo look like a man who's been lost in Lowe's for 2 hours? Does he look like he's wearing a disguise? Does he look like the instructor in 1980s bus driver training video?
How am I still just learning about some of these?
Doug Peterson.
And does he look like Paul Radke, who is friends with Greg Cody when they were 12 years old? Colin Cowherd, who we drubbed with a whole bunch of celebrities, including the world's strongest man in Iceland, who knows nothing about American football. I believe that we ended the season 10 games over 500, and he was 10 games under 500, or some ridiculous thing. He is talking to sharps. He is talking to scouts. He is talking to people who break down film. All this knowledge does not help you pick football games against the spread. Colin Cowherd has tweeted, Stugotz, you have an ally. Chris Cody, you have an ally. Stop whining about OT rules. Make a stop. 1, Bills had plenty of chances to wrap that puppy up. Didn't. And then CYA next season. See ya. CYA. So put this on the poll, please. Somebody who says wrap that puppy up. Douche or no douche? Yes or no?
No douche.
Somebody who writes see ya, CYE, see ya next season. Douche or no douche?
Douche. Josh Allen agrees with Colin Cowherd, by the way. Josh Allen said, I can't complain about that, talking about the overtime rules. We didn't make enough plays. All Josh Allen did was make plays. He made 1,000 plays.
If you're going to change rules, I'm surprised the league didn't immediately change all the quarterbacking safety protection rules to protect lower lips the moment that Tom Brady started bleeding. If you were just going to just change rules the day after seeing amazing football games.
We want to change rules because Mahomes got down the field in 10 seconds. That's it.
9 seconds. They left 4 on the clock.
Were you surprised to see blood from his lip and not filler?
You see some grays in the hair? Did you see it?
Yeah, he'll address that this offseason.
You saw gray in the hair? Was that the
on the
most...
sideburns, that's the first thing that comes through, and so he'll touch that up.
When he was walking off the field, he had blood dripping from his lip, and he looked very, very upset, and you saw some grays on the side of his hair.
You've seen the time-lapse video on how Tom Brady gets better looking. It's not just that. I don't know exactly what I'm alleging, but his eyes are in a different place. It's just, he's a different human being
Put
than he
it
was
on
when he
the
broke in.
poll. Are Tom Brady's eyes in a different place than they used to be? Parenthetically, we don't know what we're alleging here. We don't know the procedure that moves the eyes.
But it's an upgrade, right? It's why 2021 Tom Brady was my best-looking quarterback to win a Super Bowl of all time.
It's why I want to know the secret.
Right, so do I.
Because Troy Aikman's out there seeing the time lapse, and he's like, am I crazy? Or he gets better looking with age. No, you're not crazy. It's true. He's done something. And I refuse to believe it's just simply not eating almonds.
But you don't know what it is. No almonds, no strawberries.
No, I'm pretty sure it's filler.
You also don't know what you're
Red lift.
alleging. Well, wait a minute. Pretty sure.
Red lift? You think so?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Just like it's a thing. It's a procedure
put.
that lifts
Yeah.
your eyes.
Excellent.
I'm not saying Tom Brady.
Well done.
I'm just saying it's what maybe something what's called that maybe he does. I don't know.
Hair transplant. Obviously, he colors his hair. I'm not holding that against him whatsoever. But that's obvious. Your hair cannot stay that shade at that age.
Why did I hear Stugotz and Billy whispering to each other about doing an emergency podcast because someone stood near Drew Brees and they have a lot of questions?
Golick was on the sidelines for the Bucs game, and we don't want to ask him about the Bucs game. We want to ask him about his conversation he had with Drew Brees and the hair.
You know what's going on up there? Lettuce.
An emergency podcast
Just
for
for
that?
that,
Just
yeah.
because Golick was near Drew Brees? What do you have any theories?
Would
What
you
are the-
want to wait until Friday to hear about that? Or if you could get it sooner, would you want it sooner? I mean, emergency.
What are the questions that you want answered?
What did it look like?
Yes.
What did it feel like? What did it smell like? Things like that.
Mike, I don't believe that we ever got into with any length because this has been a wandering show today. I don't believe that you have told us why CBS had a cruddy broadcast, why you thought CBS had a cruddy broadcast. I, of course, watched the entire thing with the sound down.
Because I guess the game was moving so fast that like very obvious things, like the incredible job Tommy Townsend did on that field goal, just passed their priorities. They didn't focus on a lot of things. And at the end, Tony Romo tried to convince everybody that the game was not over when it was a clear as day catch. It was just not a spectacular effort. Am I alone in this assessment that they kind of had a bad one?
I disagree. I think Romo's energy is great. Like all I remember
best.
from that is how much fun he was having. It made me have more fun. I was thinking the exact opposite, actually. I was like, this is an awesome broadcast.
I think it is possible. This has happened some to Greg Gumbel. I think it is possible that everything out there is happening so fast that the broadcasters are aging too. And it's not just the referees. You're complaining about the old guys. I marveled at, we complain a lot when they spot them wrong. But, man, there was a lot of good spotting of the football this weekend.
We should applaud them, the
we
referees.
don't do that.
We
That's
should, though.
Stugotz, you came in here today wanting to blame everyone. We should applaud them. You never want to applaud. You were waiting for something to happen because these old guys are being surrounded by missiles. Like, think about what happened in yesterday's game. Let's just discuss this part for a second because it gets glossed over because there were a million things that happened yesterday. But Eric Weddle, who has only been called for the postseason the last couple of years out of nowhere because the Rams need an emergency guy, hits Mike Evans a little bit late. And if the ball pops up in the air, that is a play that maybe ends up with Tampa Bay at the top of the fourth quarter burying the Rams because they just keep falling apart. But instead, the Rams got the ball back just because the ball went down and hit the turf, and then the penalty on Weddle on fourth down was something that came after a dead ball instead of beforehand, which would have given Tampa the first down and the ball deep in Rams territory.
The offense benefited from those 15 yards. The Rams offense benefited from those 15 yards. If Weddle gets there a second sooner, a half second sooner, it's 15. And you're right, the Bucs probably end up blowing them out.
Is it possible that so much is happening in so many places so fast that the broadcasters, who also tend to be old, are going to make mistakes too? If referees do with the whistle and everything else, that everything that's happening out there is very precise, and that we at our jobs are not as precise as the people trying to do their job down there with everyone colliding at a high rate
Or
of
you
speed.
could be just learning new rules. I mean, the rule book is obviously massive. I will tell you that in that moment, I thought that the Bucs drive had been extended by what Weddle did. I was shocked that they came to the conclusion that no, the ball hit the ground and therefore
I didn't know that rule.
It's actually not just because we didn't know it. I'm not going to do that thing and say it's a dumb rule, but
That makes sense.
It doesn't make much sense of a rule because you're penalized. You're extra penalized for it being fourth down. If it's third down, your offense sees the benefit of that yardage.
But Mike, it's essentially a dead ball. At that point, right.
But on third down, it's not because then they'll apply it.
Right. Well,
I didn't know the rule. Did you know the rule? I did not know the rule that it had to hit the ground, and it's the difference between this being on the other side of ball possession.
But I think you knew it. You maybe didn't know like how it was applied. But yeah, when the play is over, if there's a taunting penalty or
no, but I've never seen it that bang is what I'm saying.
Right.
Yes, I understand that if possession has gone over, that the other team gets the ball. But in real time, as it was happening, it happened so fast that I didn't know the difference between dead ball and live ball. Is the hit has to be a second. It has to be a fraction of a tenth of a second before the ball hits the ground. I didn't think that was something that would play out that way.
Yeah, that it was ball hitting the ground. I don't know why, but I've always assumed like after the whistle, maybe it makes sense that it's when ball hits the ground. But in that moment, I'm like, wow, Weddle, 2 years away from the game, and you made that huge mistake. And no, it's actually, if you look at it in a vacuum, great penalty to take.
Well, Weddle was also, if you noticed, if you watch the replay, Stugotz, you will see that Weddle tried at the last instinct of a moment to ease up,
to pull up
on the hit.
Right.
But think about what you're watching, Stugotz. When that's Mike Evans, basically, Tom Brady has a play in his playbook, and they used it a couple of times yesterday. Hey, I don't know what I'm going to do here, but let me just throw it over there and hope I get an interference call, because that dude is so,
or he'll go get it.
He's so long and everything that maybe somebody will grab his arm because he's hard to cover.
It is fascinating because if the ball had like popped up in the air and then he had hit him, it would have still been a live ball. So it would have counted and the drive would have been extended.
Just back to CBS. Just back to CBS's broadcast for a second. I thought they had a good day, Mike. Like, I'm with Chris. I think Romo's good. He's always good. The energy is fantastic. He had a really funny line where he's talking about, and he always does this. Hey, this is how legacies are made. This is a big drive. This is career defining for Josh Allen. I've been through this. I didn't have much success. That part was really, really funny, where he's kind of poking fun of himself. And then they were talking about the squib kick, and they nailed it before it even happened. Where Nan says to Romo, "You got to put this kick on the ground,"
Again,
and Romo
with
says,
the nailing
"Yes."
of it. Again with the nailing of it.
So often.
No, Dan, they nailed it.
I mean,
no, they did before the play even happened.
But again,
that's a good job out of them. They're getting praised today.
Okay, Stugotz,
they deserve it.
I'm just
McDermott
laughing at you.
That's enough.
And that you watched that game.
It cost them a game.
That you watched that game. And
everyone's blaming the OT rules, and everyone feels bad for Josh Allen. How about blame the head coach? It's his responsibility for knowing the rules and knowing what to do in that spot. Not mine, not yours, not Jess's, not Mike's, not Chris, not Whittingham, not Billy.
Not
it is
Vaughn,
Sean
not Hermione.
McDermott's responsibility to know to squib kick there.
We are going to be hearing about this squib kick every Bills game for the next 3 years.
He should be fired. He should never coach another game again, Sean McDermott.
It's going to be the new Tim Duncan bunny.
He was so good every time Casey scored, like encouraging his guys. When he was so grateful. When Kansas City, how about this one, Stugotz? If you want to question coaching, you got 3rd and 1, Andy Reid. Why are you bringing in number 81 to run the option for you on 3rd and 1? When you can make it a 2-score game, but on 3rd and 1, you're going to make it the option play. You're taking the ball out of Mahomes' hands.
Right.
You're giving it to a tight end number that I've not seen before. You're having him run the option.
To Jarris McKinnon?
Jarek, we've been over this.
I like to call him Jarris. It sounds better.
I know you like to call him that. It's not his name.
I just want to marvel that Stugotz would see that game and set a record for the number of times he has said squib kick.
Terrible.
He's right.
Thank you.
It's not even a better sounding name. Jarris McKinnon? It's way worse than Jarek.
I like
way
Jarris.
Worse.
You like Jarek? I like
Why not go
Jarris.
Derek McKinnon? Jarris.
Derek is an upgrade. You're right.
Is there any other time that you use the phrase squib except for before a kick?
Reading Harry Potter.
So that's what you were doing. I heard Hermione.
Not you, not Hermione. Wait, I got it wrong. Damn it. Not Ron, not Hermione, you, Harry. It's a meme. It's on TikTok, you guys. Come on.
The people that get it definitely get it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Chris.
We're just not those people.
Well, you've been waiting all your life for that opening. How do you feel? How much remorse do you feel about the fact that you finally got your chance to do the Squib impersonation and you blew
Well, that
it?
wasn't the Squib is something different, Dan. You would understand.
Squib?
Squib is a non-magical person born into a magical family. But Harry Potter's Chugi now, so we don't talk about it anymore.
What?
You guys used to complain about me. I mean, what's going on right now?
Did Andy Reid coin one of the greatest sports quotes ever, or did he get that from someone?
Let's play it. Let's play
Yeah,
the sound
play it.
here. Let's play Andy Reid here with a great quote. I'm telling you, I'm being honest here. The first time I realized Andy Reid was funny is when he had a quote about how much, he loves Cheese Whiz and he was making fun of himself. But here is Andy Reid talking about what happens when things get grim.
Do you have any special advice to Pat right there? Do you have any words for him at that point when Buffalo took the lead for the last time?
Yeah, when it's grim, be the Grim Reaper and go get it.
When it's grim, be the Grim Reaper. Like a bunch of bros are going to tattoo that on their forearms.
G-bumps.
But I need to know, did he hear that somewhere or did he invent that on the fly? Because if so, like that's Churchill type stuff from Andy Reid.
Put it on the poll, please, Guillermo, at LeBatard Show. Did Andy Reid deliver a Churchill type quote?
Who's Churchill?
Let's play, speaking of coaching quotes, Mike, let's play from the weekend. Penny Hardaway, unfortunately, he has apologized for this, but Penny Hardaway, the beleaguered Memphis coach, has cut through all the BS. Unfortunately, again, he has apologized, but I guess he was asked after Memphis lost, he was asked, I suppose, whether he was embarrassed or not, and this was his response.
I think the one thing I can say to this media, because this media gets kind of up sometimes when it comes to me, we don't have our full roster. Y'all know we don't have our full roster. Stop asking me stupid questions about if I feel like I can do something. If I had my roster like they did, then I feel like I can do whatever I want to do. I'm coaching really hard. My boys are playing really hard. I'm not embarrassed about nothing. We have 4 freshmen starting. Y'all need to act like it. Act like we got 17 to 18 and 19-year-olds out here trying to learn how to play against 22, 23, and 24-year-old guys. Come on, man. Stop disrespecting me, bro. Like, don't do that. I work too hard. I work way too hard for that. Y'all write all these articles about me, and all I do is work. We got young kids on the floor. They got young kids on the floor.
I hate that he had to apologize for that. I just love when coaches are honest.
There was only one 24-year-old player in the NCAA.
It's a
and
total lie.
He's number
Right.
30, and he's a meteorologist for Florida State. 24 years old. You're laying it on thick there.
That's what you took from that? There were any number of things that made it. Chris Cody reacted as if his face were a punching bag, a speed bag, in backing off quote after quote because Penny Hardaway was so pissed
He
off.
said you guys write shitty articles, I think.
Yes. I mean, he was really mad, and this was a coach who used to be a superstar basketball player, and he's just had enough. And it's like, bleep off, all of you. I'm coaching these guys. I'm working hard. I'm a Hall of Famer. I don't need any of this nonsense.
But to Mike's point, I mean, every coach is coaching 18 and 19-year-old kids. There's no 20-somethings in college basketball anymore.
You have the number 1 recruiting class in the nation. Shut up. They're all 18.
Now you're telling him to shut up, too?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible 18-year-olds. In fact, I'd venture to say if you're a 24-year-old playing basketball, you're not very good in college. Your
dream's over.
Yeah.
And
You're being a meteorologist.
Aren't the best college teams nowadays playing a lot of freshmen? Like, that's usually most teams.
Yeah, because you get them
Right.
for 1 year at most. What is he doing? My guys are 18 and they're 24. Yeah, but like you're playing Bishop Gorman.
Yes,
That's why like
and he is the best of the 18-year-olds.
He's coaching his ass off, though.
He is.
Did you get an answer yet, Chris, from Tim Kurkjian on top 5 scoopers of all time?
Oh, my
I
God.
just came in, Dan.
Oh, my God.
All right, hold on
I
a
gotta
second.
brace myself. I
This
need a
is
pen.
big.
I
This
need a
is how
pen.
we have to
Hold on.
end the biggest football weekend of our times. With the top 5 scoopers. Get your pen
I got it.
ready. Incidentally, another one of the things buried this weekend, as many were by everything that happened, you might want to pay attention. I ask you to continue to keep your eye on what it is that Dana White is doing in the UFC. And Ngannou, his great champion, a heavyweight champion, headlined a card. Dana White wouldn't put the belt on him. Dana White didn't show up to the press conference afterward, and it's being reported that he is being paid about $600,000 for a fight of that stature. Usually that's a $20 million fight in the fight game when you are that kind of card draw, but he doesn't think the contracts are fair. He says he's being treated very bad by Dana White. I encourage you to just continue to keep an eye on that as Jake Paul and others show you the unfairness in the combat game, a violent game, a dangerous game. Who's getting the money? Because it's not the labor that is making the money in that sport. It's really super lopsided, and just keep an eye on that. But we will end this hour, greatest football weekend of our time, as we must, with the top 5.
Oh, man.
Top 5 scoopers of all time at first base. Stugotz has put Doug Mankiewicz in there.
Yeah.
I've put Andres Galarraga in there.
I have David Segui.
You have guaranteed us that who would be there?
Casey Kochman.
Let's see what we've got here. I believe you're right about this, Stugotz. Number 5 on Tim Kurkjian's list of greatest scoopers, first base scoopers ever.
Mike Squires.
Squires.
Good luck with this list. There's not going to be a name on it you recognize.
Well, did he play for the Kansas City Royals? Squires.
I know he's 69 years old now.
I think Squires was an Oakland A. I could be wrong. I'll check it
All right.
out.
White Sox, career-long White Sox.
Okay, number 4.
Told you.
Sorry, we both got it wrong. Number 5. Told you. Close. Number 4.
Vic Power.
Oh, Vic Power.
It's a good name.
That's one of those made-up names in Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball when they only had the license for him.
And a good name. Somebody that you'd want in the middle of your lineup.
I think he was an A.
Number 3.
This one brings me back. JT Snow.
Good one.
That is a good one. The Snowman.
Vic Power was an A. He was a Kansas City Athletic.
Told you.
Number 2.
Don Mattingly.
Donnie Baseball.
Wow. And the number 1.
Oh, my God.
Great. Hold on a second. Someone's getting robbed. Who's
Mankiewicz, Segui, Kochman.
I'd never understand why you write these down.
I don't know either. Throw it away in a
It's
minute.
just a disposable thing. And
He writes them down. He's been writing them down for 20 years, and he's never kept one of them. Every time I come in the following morning, and I just sadly throw it in the garbage can because it's got some pieces of Kind Bar on it, and it's never something he takes with him.
You want a quick recap before we get to number 1?
Sure.
Okay. Number 5 was Mike Squires, the A. His teammate, Vic Power, came in at number 4. The Snowman, JT Snow, at number 3. Donnie Baseball, Don Mattingly, at number 2.
Billy, have you taken away his name now, Donnie T-Ball? You've called him for years, Donnie T-Ball. Have you since rescinded that, or are you still calling him that?
Let me think on that.
Okay, great. Please get back to me with that kind of urgency.
By the way, I'm still looking into Jake from State Farm. I found no info on his athletic career presently.
Number 1, the finest of all the scoopers of baseballs in the history of first baseman.
Keith Hernandez.
Poor Kochman.
Hey, people, tell us what in the sport made you laugh hardest this weekend. It is a segment we call What Made You Laugh This Weekend. Ha ha ha!
Funniest thing from the sports weekend is presented by our friends at CBD MD.
Incidentally, we appreciate your patience that you did not get a live television show today on YouTube. We are upgrading the facilities around here with camera equipment, and Tony and Luis setting up a video department so that very soon we will be able to bring you better video, more often. So just bear with us. It is a painstaking process. Tony, please tell us, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Dan, I feel for all my follically challenged people, but James Brown's Beijing over the weekend has not been good. And I'm team Stop the Shave, obviously. Thank you, Mike Ryan. Shout out to you. But that Beijing was not it, brother.
Okay, I don't know why you had to announce yourself as Stop the Shave
I appreciate
adjacent.
your support.
Yeah.
We're being
call him
we're being
brother.
silenced.
It's
We're
very split.
very split.
Yeah, I
they
just
won't
need
even
people
let
to
me
know
get
that.
to my dossier.
I
Stop
wanted
the shave.
I wanted to make fun of James Brown and the Beijing with Dominique Foxworth, and he retaliated with, he's a family friend. We've known him for a long time. He looks lovely. Chris Cody, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
The win probabilities fluctuating at the end of the Bills Chiefs game. It was just like 96% chance to win. Oh, now the other team has a 96% chance to win.
Whittingham, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Antonio Brown going from wishing Tom Brady luck to then dunking on the Bucks for losing.
Guillermo, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Robbie Gould taking warm-up kicks as the Packers players are introduced and running right in front of him.
He pronounces it gold.
Fine.
I pronounce it Gould.
Very Stugotz of you. Jessica, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
I was gonna say the Robbie Gold one, and then I was thinking,
It's Gould.
someone else is gonna have it first. So then
That's a
mine
fine.
was first it was Aaron Rodgers losing, and then it was Tom Brady losing. So both of those things. Just seeing people I dislike losing was funny to me. A hater.
So Tom Brady has not at any point gotten your begrudging respect where
No, screw that guy.
What?
The Steelers would have like 6 more Super Bowls if he didn't
I
exist.
see, you're right. I get
I'm an AFC fan.
Wait a minute. Peyton Manning was there too.
You don't just like begrudgingly start liking people just because. Like what?
Billy's
How does
so
that
right.
work? I'm
Billy's-
a hater.
Billy's so right, though. The person who lost the most because of Brady's presence was Peyton, not Ben.
I thought I
You
got
don't have
there.
to compare.
I thought I got there once Brady won a 7th Super Bowl. But every time I see him down by 24 points, it's like an instinct. You can't help it. And then it's like, I just desperately hope that you lose. And then he comes back. It's like, it's really going to happen again. Like, I got my hopes up for the 20th consecutive year.
you didn't have any previous PTSD where you didn't dare do a witch is dead thing because you knew that more than anyone in the league, he's going to kick open the coffin.
But the thing is that like they were just getting so outplayed, like physically manhandled. Like the Bucks have one of the best offensive lines. They don't let teams run on them. And the Rams physically manhandled. I just thought it was like, it's not their day. Like they're getting so horribly outplayed here. And then still he manages to come back.
I found stunning that I did not expect before the game Saturday night to find myself in the position for the first time in my life watching Aaron Rodgers play and not wanting him to win.
Crazy.
That it surprised me that it snuck up on me is what I'm saying. I wasn't expecting what happened at the end of that game where a blocked punt, Stugotz,
Yep.
does him in. Mike Ryan, what do you have there?
Dossier time?
No dossier.
Jesus Christ.
No, the dossier. No.
How convenient that I'm
Okay.
being silenced
We will
yet
get.
again.
What is the funniest thing from the sports weekend? It is not time for the
Jason
dossier.
Statham supports me publicly, and all of a sudden you want
That
to
looked
quiet
like
my
Jason
voice.
Statham, but
He's a very good friend of mine.
What do you mean? He's a
Very
good
good.
friend of mine. I went to a concert with him.
Well, then you should also be Team Stop the Shave. Let's go with the glow up that Matt LaFleur has had. I had no idea he looked like that in Washington. It's get yourself a barber and some LASIK, and you too can have that glow up.
And better fitting khaki pants.
Yeah.
And shirt as well.
Taylor, look at that. It's like a she's all that type of glow up from Matt LaFleur. He had glasses and baggy clothes, and all of a sudden we didn't think he was an absolute dish.
the Washington coaching staff before hiring Jay Gruden had Shanahan, LaFleur, and McVay on it. Stugotz.
How'd they not win?
How does Bomani still not apologize for that coaching staff failing Robert Griffin III?
That's not the Jay Gruden coaching tree, correct? That was the people that were on the staff before Jay Gruden got there.
That was the
You have to give him credit. I still think you have to give Jay Gruden credit for
You
that.
have to.
It's in
Yes.
the tree. It's his tree. It's his tree.
It's Mike Shanahan's tree, I think, what Mike was. But then Jay Gruden came in and developed those coaches. So
Can you have a great coaching tree if you're not a great coach?
it's a good question.
Wait, is Jay Gruden getting more credit for Kyle Shanahan than Mike Shanahan is, his actual father?
Stugotz, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Indomitian Sue, of all people, Dan, complaining about being kicked. I mean, seriously. Oh, the tables have turned.
They have turned.
He was mad.
He was just terrifying. I don't think anyone had a scarier moment this weekend than Matt Stafford when that ball went skidding past him and he realized that the Bucs were chasing him. I'm going to go the jump shot that Russell Westbrook put up in a game that hit the top of the backboard. That ESPN.
I'm going to need you to clarify.
Did you see it, Stugotz?
I did. It was terrible.
Honestly, I'm going to need you to clarify.
Come on,
even if it was just last week, I'm going to need
the-
you to
Mike,
clarify.
even by his standards, this
it was the
this
one
was
that
bad.
hit the top of the backboard that ESPN put out, and then ESPN deleted. The Sports Center, for some reason, what happened there? They don't like to make fun of athletes, even when the athletes bring it upon themselves by taking a mid-range jumper that hits the top of the backboard.
The Lakers have a history of reaching out to ESPN when there's something they don't like, as you may well know.
It was against the Magic on Friday night, a game that the Lakers still won.
It was confusing to see how anybody who does that was Philip Seymour Hoffman, and along came Paulie. Like that shot doesn't make any sense coming out of the hands of Russell Westbrook, even though he's an inefficient shooter.
We've said that he's one of the greatest athletes we've ever seen. How does he look so bad at playing basketball sometimes? Like, how is it possible?
Well, we did say that wasn't going to age well. Once you're not more athletic than everybody else by leaps and bounds, and you're an inefficient shooter, we did say that wouldn't age well. We're in the middle of it not aging well. We're toward the end of it not aging well.
Speaking of aging well, my good friend Dean Blandino weighed in on the whole stop the shave thing, and you have to respect his
for the
final
love
ruling.
of God. No, we don't have to respect
Stop
him.
the shave. That is platinum recording artist. I just made that up. Tezonde. Stop the shave. Dossier time?
No dossier.
Lamestream Media. Back at it.